Well, I started this story in the middle of the page. I remembered the lines and forgot my age. When somebody said my attitude was snotty, that's when you call and say get out tonight. I catch a late night movie on a late night flight. I'll be getting real drunk and making fun of everybody. Ain't nobody gonna get me down. Something must have gone around. Hey, you can stick that sign up your ass. The one that says it won't last. My sugar buzz is growing higher and higher every day. Your sarcasm cuts like a knife. I'll have the time of my life. My sugar buzz is growing higher and higher every day. To a party last Saturday night. You know, I think I got laid, then I got in a fight. I don't remember that much, but I think I liked it. I saw some band called Roses and Sake, and they brought back the rock and the singer was cocky. 2 years later, I'm sure they'll forget about it. Ain't nobody gonna get me down. Something must have gone around. Yeah, you can stick that sound up your ass. The one that says it won't last. My sugar buzz is growing higher and higher every day. Your sarcasm cuts like a knife. I'll have the time of my life. My sugar buzz is growing higher and higher every day.
And hey, everybody, welcome to Squatch Talk. I'm Pat. And there's Petey. We got the Petey cam working. I'm so excited. It's really why I'm here. It's just to do the Petey cam, I think. I had this idea the other night, and I was so disappointed that I couldn't make it happen because of technological issues. That I couldn't make it happen that night. It bummed me out. Here I am, figured it out, and got it working. So we got Petey cam, and he's looking at you guys. Look at that. Like, he's looking. He's looking. So we're here to let's talk Squatch. Let's do Petey cam. It is an open mic. If any friendlies are watching, you want to jump in, cool. If not, cool. Like, it's good either way. I just thought that I would come on here and do a show. And so whatever that show turns into, at least I had Petey cam. So yeah, that's about it. Let's get started. Let's talk Squatch. what's going on in the Bigfoot world. Hey, chat. Thanks for everybody being here. Patty, Mr. Lee, Timmy Boy, and others. Raptor's not here yet. But thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Feels good just to go on, be live again, since being out in the wild with the potential Bigfoot around that never showed up. Bigfoot never showed up. I had some other creatures show up, but not the Bigfoot. So yeah, feels good to be back in civilization with the technology working. So how's everybody doing? Chime in. Bait me. I triple dog dare you. Bait me. What you got? Let's see, I'll start. Same old, right? So what I've like clicked on and kind of watched and saw a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because I do sub to a lot of diverse channels. So not necessarily channels that I believe in or that I think are great. I just kind of keep tabs on people and the narrative, more importantly, because again, the more diverse channels you if you pay attention to, then you can kind of extract, are they all on board? Are they all like saying the same stuff? And yes, they are. So that's a good way to sort of kind of like through a very informed observation, be able to have those opinions. It's not just an opinion. It's an opinion based on informed observation. And so the narrative is still intact. Everybody is planning their Bigfoot get-togethers months out, and they're going to be landing, 200 yards from a Bigfoot that night. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing how that happens. Pete agrees. So Bigfoot King, yes. So yeah, what happened on? Okay, come on, click computer. Oh, really? I'm still gonna have computer. Okay. Right. So Bigfoot King, obviously 3PO, like showing up on Mog Show when I was on, I guess last week. I think it was last Tuesday, so almost a week ago. And and yeah, so Bigfoot King pops in and just boy, he just starts like spouting off like all this like heavy information and about incredibly sexy things that are going on, and of course, I dealt with that very diplomatically. Number one, because I was on Mog Show. Number two, like I prefer to deal with it in a more diplomatic way. Uh-oh, Petey has left the Petey cam. It's okay. He'll be back. Hey, but how about not bark? And so like really, I only had to deal with it diplomatically because I only asked him one simple question, and it was just a question, and it was a simple question, and I just said, "What's your goal?" And so, boom. Once I like nailed him down on what's your goal, he starts talking about shaking hands with Bigfoot and poking it in the belly button. And it's like, okay, my job here is done. You're on the crazy train to Coot Town. Like, I didn't have to call it out. I didn't have to accuse you of it. I didn't have to be the one to throw that opinion out there. All I did was ask one simple question: what's your goal? And when he starts spouting that his goal is to shake hands with a Bigfoot and poke it in the belly button, then all right, he's exposed for like whatever that is. Like, again, I don't want to. I don't read minds, and I'm not a psychological professional that can diagnose people. But I've certainly hit the nail on the head more than once when it comes to delusionalism and people being like so uh, entrenched in magical thinking and weirdness, maybe mental problems. Like, so I've experienced all those things in the Bigfoot world, and I've hit that nail on the head more than once. So yeah, there's some grand delusionalism going on there, or at the very least, if not more. Um, and if it's more, then that's kind of sad, right? So, not here to pick on the weak, um, but to make bold claims about discovery of what would be the greatest biological discovery in modern human history. To just go on some show. Sorry, Moggs, don't take that personally. Like, on some show, right? To just go on some show and start spouting these amazing claims that you're going to be the guy to discover the most amazing biological discovery in human history is you're going to get a couple of questions. so so that's my opinion of the whole Bigfoot King thing. It was what it was. Again, I played nice. So that's I'm here to play nice. We can have disagreements, and we can have vehement disagreements. We can even have debate. Debate isn't being unnice. Um, and so those challenges and all that stuff is still there. I'm not here to be the bad guy or burst the bubble, or well, I am the guy that's killing the music at the party, because it's just a party that everybody's enjoying the loud music. And so I'm happy to be the guy to kill the music. Um because the music doesn't mean anything. It's just fun. It's fun, it's entertaining. We're like we didn't all come here to have a big party and listen to loud music. We come here to get answers? Haven't we forgotten that somehow? It's kind of the way I look at it. So I'll kill the music. Somebody needs to. So there you go, 3PO. There's my somewhat long-winded answer about that situation that happened. Oh man, we got some action on PD Cam over here. We got lots of PD action. I love it. No, I don't know what that is, Sharon, or which D you're talking about. There's a lot of D's in the Bigfoot world. What's up, Mary? I haven't spoken with you in a while. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. So yeah, man, who all else is here? I guess we'll find out. Well, I mean, right? Not sorry. Yeah. Hey, Mary. Uh, I mean, right? Like, so I, I'm not gonna hold my breath to see that on the national news or like all over the internet. Some amazing thing there where I mean, all you got to do is attach a GoPro, at least um, a GoPro or a phone camera, like sort of stealthy. If you're gonna poke the belly of the beast, um, Wouldn't be that hard to catch it on film, you know, right? Unless there's something I'm missing. What's up, Brent? Brent's here. There's one friendly. What's up, Brent? This officially is an open mic. I'm just kind of winging it. I don't have a preference, but if people want to jump in, if we could build something here, cool. Like I'm down with that. If not, I'll just talk shit for 45 minutes and wrap it up. Because I got Petey Cam. I got Petey Cam. I'm just like so happy with that. So what's up, Brent? Thanks for being here either way, man. If you want a link, hit me up. I'd love to talk to you. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I bounced off any of you guys in the Bigfoot world. I do not know. I do not know, my guess. I know that he was in chat. I noticed that he was in chat on the Mogs when I was on Mogs with the Bigfoot King. That show that Mr. Lee linked to that show, it looked like in chat. So Vaughn was in chat on that, and so I did notice that. And so let's see if I can do this without bumping myself off, because I had to use one of my devices for Petey Cam. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't communicate with the guy. All right. So what? God, where am I gonna find this? I guess here. God, I've been without my computer for so long. Okay, that's something else. I can't deal with that right now. What was that? Was that Petey Cam? No, that's outside. Anyway, yeah, Brent, if you want to jump in, hit me up on Facebook. That'd probably be easier. Or I don't know, maybe hold on. Sorry guys, I'm so out of practice here. Where's Jeff? It's Sunday. Jeff should be doing something. I don't know. He might be hanging out with his sons. Jeff might have a lot going on. Is this right? Is that right? Paste. Let's see if this works. Yeah, man. I'd love to talk to Brent. I think he'd be like perfect person to bounce off of on a show. Oh, there's Jeff. Look at what I just conjured up. That's so funny, man, how I conjure people up. Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum. I wonder what Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum's doing. Where's Jeff Meldrum? He's probably coming home from like one of the 3 dozen Bigfoot conferences he's attending this year. It seems like. I guess I don't blame him for wanting to bounce back after his horrible like the Alaskan cruise that had to have an effect on the guy. He's like, I'm gonna do every Bigfoot conference that comes my way. I'm gonna beat that. I'm not gonna be afraid to ever go to a Bigfoot conference ever again, or an Alaskan cruise. That was some pretty crazy stuff, man. Meldrum. Yeah, I wish I could conjure Meldrum up. What's up, Jeff? You are welcome here too. I was like, I swear to God, I was just talking about you. I don't get the Elvis thing. What's up with the Elvis thing? Did I miss something? Did something go over my head? Probably. Anyway, thanks for being here, everybody. I'm not, you know who you are. You know who you are, and if you etched yourself in chat, then it's right there for everybody to see. That's kind of the way I look at it. Uh-oh, we have... there goes Petey. Fuck it, I'll send Jeff a link too. Come on, man. Come on, dude. No. It's too loud. You don't need to bark. You don't need to bark, bud. Get back up on PD cam where people can see you. Come on, you're on podcast. Okay, not an exciting show thus far. Let's get into some deep intel. Deep discussion. Is that what? Okay. Jeez. Sorry. I'm just way out of practice. I'm definitely down for like talking. I'm also down with bouncing off that. Either way, it's all good. Like I just don't have a Eric. Eric's here. What's up, Eric? Man, that's a good question. Like, so my knee-jerk instinctual reaction is, Meldrum gets passes. Like he gets passes. That's my just my knee-jerk sort of instinctual reaction is that he does get passes. I mean, he's not above criticism. So he shouldn't be special. In fact, I'm famous for saying we need 100 Jeff Meldrums. I don't like the fact that he's the only foot morphologist expert. Like, don't we have others? Don't we have, like, what are all the other foot morphologist experts in the scientific, undiscovered, like, or hominin world, following the history of foot evolution? He's got to be hundreds of those people, right? How come they're not so interested in the subject? I kind of want them to be, because I don't want just one professional up on a pedestal who has like the word of God or something, Like I don't want that. That's not how things get sorted out. It's not how things get figured out. Is when you just have one professional. That's cool, sure. Like I didn't. I'm like, wait a second, did something go over my head? Yeah, well, screw Isdell. Screw Isdell. That guy's just, he's completely full of it. Eric. Where are you at, Eric? Are you friends on Facebook, Eric? I want to say somehow we're not. Oops, not that. No, we're not. I don't think. Yeah, there's only one way to do that. Sorry, guys and gals. Talk amongst yourself. Like things are gonna get juicier. And hey, we got Petey Cam. Petey Cam. I can't point my finger right there. Yeah, jump in if you want, Eric. Like, I haven't talked to you in a minute either. Hold on. Let me compose it. Wait a second. So send you an email. All right. Paste. Okay. Yeah. I'm surprised that PD isn't going more nuts. All right. Here we go. Yeah. Lockbeard. Yeah. I could probably conjure Lock up. Hey, Lockbeard, why don't you show up in chat? It's your turn. I see that Meldrum never did. He's probably watching. He just doesn't want to chat. True story. Wouldn't be the first time. So let's get some kind of discussion going. I'm full of beans with the Bigfoot topic right now, man. Like, I could go in 5,000 directions. And I kind of feel I need to, because like I'm ready to just like lay it on the line and challenge everyone, to the actual hard discussions. And I don't mean about right now. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to like conjure up a debate. I don't mean right now. I mean in the future with the right people. Like the right panel that's willing to talk about this subject in a much more adult, serious way. And just in pushing the narrative to the side and ignoring it and saying, okay, we're taking the narrative off the table. That's not going to be a part of the discussion. We're only going to talk about, sort of the what these things are and aren't, or could and couldn't be, and why. That's a big one, the why thing. So, like, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm really building to some kind of culmination of, like, those are the most important things in the world to me to do. Everything else is kind of silly and pointless. And I'm only like willing to even come on here and do my own show, which is nothing like it even used to be. Sometimes because I'm bored, to be honest with you. It's a form of entertainment for me sometimes. So, but that being said, I do enjoy it. And there are still friendlies around and people that are worth bouncing off of and talking to. We just need more of them. I'll bring one in right now, man. Mr. Brent.
Hey, man, what's up? Long time no see, huh?
Yeah, I guess it's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. Your last show was what, a month ago or so?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, mine, for sure. But I think the last time you and I were on a show maybe was on Nikki's platform like 6 months ago or whatever. Like, I can't even keep up with it anymore,
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't really, follow too much that stuff anymore. Got a lot going on. What's up, Jeff?
Hey.
Dude, I hear you. So do I. What's up, Jeff? How you doing, man? Glad to conjured you up tonight.
Yeah, I popped on and I was like, well, let's just see what he's talking about. And I really wasn't watching. I was kind of listening. And I heard you say my name and I looked at the thing and realized Brent was in there. And Yeah.
Yeah, just
Here
kind of.
we are.
Usually I'm not around on a weekend, but it worked out tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, man, he's exactly what I said. Where's Jeff? It's Sunday. He's probably doing this or that. And 2 seconds later, there you were in comments. I'm like, but I also tried to conjure up Dr. Meldrum, and he's either watching and not chatting, or maybe not here at all. So
Yeah,
not sure.
maybe.
No, I think you're right. He's probably on one of those 1 million Bigfoot conferences that he goes to every year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I touched on that because there's a lot this year. It almost seems like a record for him.
You know, you gotta get
I
paid.
seen he had posted today on his Facebook a little bit ago a picture of him. It looked like it was in front of an old movie theater where it has the marquee up on top, and
Yeah.
it said Bigfoot, whatever, Minicon or whatever it was called that he was at. I didn't look to see where it was, but
I think
he was
he
somewhere.
has I think he has one in Pocatello coming up too, and like next month or something.
Yeah, it's
the one I think he set up.
It's a lot. Where's that? Would you say Pocatello? I don't know where that's at.
Idaho.
Oh,
I used to live there. Yeah.
Right. So that's like, I mean, that's kind of in his backyard, right?
Yeah, it's quite the place to live. Still got family that lives there. Grew up there. Actually grew up 2 blocks from ISU where Jeff teaches. Actually, I think back in the 90s, I went to, my dad took me to this little UFO Bigfoot conference down there at ISU. This is early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And there was a Bigfoot thing there going on. And I don't remember if Jeff was ever there or who was, I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, it'd be interesting to find out if it was Jeff at that little mini conference there at ISU back in the late 80s.
I would imagine he would have been, right? I mean,
You'd think so, yeah.
That's not a stretch. Yeah, that's not a stretch.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, because he was around back then. Media, a little bit of media and stuff. But yeah.
So still no Bigfoot, huh? Nobody.
I
didn't see one.
I mean,
there's no point in trying anymore because I guess the king is gonna get it done.
Yes.
Don't get in his way.
Don't get in his way. I did address that. I was asked about that. So I mean, he has a pretty ambitious goal, I'll say. And if he gets it done, then I mean, I look forward to seeing it on the breaking headlines from everywhere, from social media to television, right? Everything.
What's his goal? What's he doing? I heard of him. I know of him and stuff.
Shake hands with Bigfoot and poke him in the belly.
He made it. Well, he made it sound like he's been, and I'm not doubting any of this. Okay, I don't know him from Adam, but it sounds like he's been in the field a lot, and he has some high-tech people with him who have brought all new equipment, and he's gonna go. And he speaks about this very matter-of-factly, Brent. I mean, it's not, boy, I think we're getting close. He's telling you, I'm telling you guys, I'm going to get this footage. I'm going to get this. I'm going to be in front of him. I'm going to touch my hand to his hand. This is going to happen. And he's speaking like this is a done deal, I'm hearing this, and I don't want to, I guess for the most part, if it was my channel or Pat's channel or your channel, Brent, if I was sitting here having that discussion with him, it would have went a little differently. I was kind of tongue-in-cheek, letting him, kind of keeping some etiquette involved in this, asking some legit questions like, what do you mean by this? Or let's establish some parameters around what we're talking about here. What are you actually trying to claim or say. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to also be respectful that was Mogs's channel, and
Yeah,
his
we were
channel
both
kind of
being
was
diplomatic.
anything goes kind of format. I'm not going to sit here and be disrespectful about it. But I would have loved to have had him on a round table on my channel or your channel and had a real discussion with him, because I'll be honest with you, the way he approaches the subject in kind of his analogy of things and the way he thinks things out and his thought process, I don't think he's way off base on a lot of stuff. I think he has kind of an accurate perception of how people address what they think they're hearing and where they're wrong and where they're right. It's just his flamboyant approach of
Yeah.
I'm going to do this, stand the fuck aside,
Mm,
was a
yeah.
little over the top,
Oh, really?
But
I love the different personality. Well, I guess he is the Bigfoot King for a reason, huh?
yeah. I mean,
well, and he flexes that all the time. He'll say,
and that's the
I'm
vibe I
gonna-
got. You know,
He'll say,
the
I've
vibe
got
I
the
got,
cameras. I'm going to get out and do this, and this is why.
It was,
and by the way, I'm the Bigfoot King.
yeah.
It's like he ends everything with that. It's like, dude.
I mean,
It seems like it's just just a created personality identity thing that he's kind of doing. I don't know. I usually just kind of I came across him a few times, and it's just.
If you took a guy with a channel who's trying to get traffic to the channel, right? He's trying to put out entertainment, all right? But he's trying to invoke a bit of a real approach in the thought of the approach from a research point of view. But now let's douse it all with the flamboyancy of professional wrestling. That's what it felt like to me.
You got too much K-Fab going on, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. My vibe off him, honestly, again, I don't read minds, but my vibe and everything was, I mean, there's no horse in that barn. It's just,
I used to say,
again, I'm not going to hold my breath, man. I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I don't know, man. I've been out camping like in July alone. I figured it out. I was almost out camping 2 weeks for the month of July, and did not experience a single thing Bigfoot related. It's kind of crappy. I'm heading out to this another shindig next week for like 4 or 5 days, and I don't know, maybe I'll get lucky there. Still owe for something for finding Bigfoot, but it'd be nice that some of these people that can find them every time they go out. It'd be nice to hang with them, see what the trick is, I guess.
I've been in 4 of the most remote places I've ever been in my life here in the last 6 weeks, doing some research, and I am on the same trail as you, Brent. I haven't seen anything that I would conclusively point towards Bigfoot. I've had a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of pretty exhilarating experiences happening out there. It seems to me I'm seeing activity amongst big game and wildlife that seems peculiar to me. There's things that seem a little out of the ordinary from what I've been used to over the last few decades. It feels like there's more of a degree of unpredictability with some of the bear behavior. Had one mountain lion experience here, at least heard them. Heard some Canadian lynx up in northern Manitoba.
Oh, nice.
But I haven't seen anything or heard anything. It's like, holy smokes, that's Bigfoot, or that you would make sense to point towards that as far as,
why should you?
I guess maybe you could look at it and stretch it and say maybe it could, but if you're going to put a realistic attribute to what made that sound, that's not where I wouldn't start there with anything that I've experienced, you know, that it's Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, I just
But hey, you know, I didn't find Bigfoot, but I had a lot of fun camping. So I guess that's the way to look at it, huh? Had a lot of
absolutely.
fun.
I mean, that's fun to do. Go enjoy the woods. Like forget about Bigfoot, right? And I mean, I just spent a month out in the woods, and it was a wonderful experience. It had its challenges, of course, but especially fighting moisture, and keeping my shit charged, like keeping all my stuff charged. A lot of challenges, but one of them was definitely not Bigfoot. Like
Mhm.
zero Bigfoot activity, but I heard 1,000 whoops. I experienced pretty much everything that's ever described in the Bigfoot activity book. I experienced all of that, and it was easily determined as known nature. Um, and I definitely dealt with some animals, a few dangerous ones in the form of copperheads, things like that. And yeah, it's just funny to me how, I find like the difference between night number 4 and night number 24. I'm sitting there around the campfire. I got my earbuds in. I don't give a fuck. Like,
Mhm.
I don't even care about like if there's a bear coming around camp or not. I'm in my camp and I don't give a fuck. But on night number 4, a tree cracks, and even me, I'm like, whoa, what was that? And it's like once you're out there long enough, dude, you just get the Bigfoot on the brain out of your head. Like again, I'm
Yeah.
sitting around, I'm listening to fucking music and like just having a good old time by myself out in the woods. And if there was a Bigfoot 30 feet away from me, I would never know it and could care less. I mean,
Yeah, I had an ATV that I had out in a very remote area up in Canada, and I had pulled out after riding like 20, 22 miles back into this area. I just pulled out in the middle of this big meadow. I mean, it was like completely surrounded with forest, but it was a wide open, just beautiful meadow. I pulled right out in the middle of it and just shut the ATV off and just sat there on it and listened for like an hour.
oh
And
wow.
you hear a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of animals that get curious about what the hell is in this meadow. You know, you'll see animals moving on the edge of the forest. Not once through all of that did I experience anything and think, ooh, that's Bigfoot. I mean, everything had a pretty definitive explanation as to what it was, you know.
Usually does.
But
I mean, it's
But
nature.
like you
Nature's
say,
funny.
you're putting yourself in an area and you're purposefully not allowing yourself to go there with the whole Bigfoot on the brain bullshit, right? You put
Yes.
yourself out there and say, let me find the realistic explanations of everything I'm seeing and hearing, and let's start there. It's hard to get to Bigfoot on the brain from that point. But when you're going out on a weekend with 4 Bigfoot buddies and you're going out there with all the shit that you invested in, the cameras, the
And
audio, all this stuff, and you're banging on trees and hollering in the night, you're starting in Bigfoot Brain Central Park there. I mean, it's crazy.
they're feeding, and you're feeding off each other. 'Cause you're
Yeah,
talking about it,
yeah.
and everybody's getting each other worked up, and yeah, that's easy to do. You
It's
could do
not
that
just
with
that, but
anything.
it's also it's hard to bring each other down. You get in that environment with 3 or 4 people who are in the Bigfoot, like we're gonna go out and figure out, see what we experience. If you started being that voice of reason and saying, when Bill's sitting there saying, "Hey, this is what just happened to me," and you say, "Are you sure it was that? Or maybe it could have been this, or maybe there's a better explanation." All of a sudden, you're pissing on everybody's parade.
Mm. You're
You know,
kill
that's the problem. It's
Yeah,
not just amping everybody up; it's the inability to ground everybody.
that's why I say it's killing the music at the party, which everyone
Yeah.
hates. If you're having a party and the music's blaring and you're the guy that kills the music, everyone fucking hates you. You're the asshole. Even though it was the right thing to do. It's like, no, we're gonna get the cops are gonna show up. We haven't had the cops here all night. Sorry, you gotta turn the music down.
No,
I'm being reasonable.
The keg's already empty. It's 4 a.m. The cops
Yeah.
have been there, but you turn the music off and it's your fault, right?
Yep, you're the asshole. As much sense as it makes, it'll never make sense to everybody who's having fun. And I think that's a good analogy. That's why I use it so much. But that's just me.
Yeah, I'm going to a large Bigfoot thingy next week. It's supposed to be like 40 people there. It's a big expedition thing. And so it's going to be interesting to see the dynamics of what you were just talking about amongst all the people, because it's a BFRO thing. And so it's going to be interesting because it's going to be a lot of people who don't have wood outdoor experience and just like really, love the subject for, as a hobby or whatever. I think
in a setting like that, the study of the human behavior around you is more interesting than anything that has to do with Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yes, Brent, oh my God, I implore you. Okay, so I'm guessing in your neck of the woods. So we're talking about Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Bigfoot country in the shadow of Rainier or Helens or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that cool fucking ruggedy forest. I'm guessing it's on public land that meets the needs of the infrastructure for that many people.
Correct.
I'm not trying to bait you into a location. I'm just trying to get right. So probably got bathrooms.
I mean, I could tell you where it's at if you want. I mean, it's online. It's at Bumping Lake, it's east of Mount Rainier. Tristan invited me, and which is cool. And so yeah, we're gonna go camping, go to this thing because that's where Tristan actually got his audio that I find very, very compelling. I can't really explain that one. But it's an area that a lot of history. Like literally, you ask anybody in Washington where to go for Bigfooting, oh, you go to Bumping Lake, which is a good and a bad thing because you can have that contamination of, hey, I'm going to stack rocks here for Bigfoot, and some other Bigfooter comes along, and be like, look, Bigfoot left me some rocks, or a glyph, or a gift, or something like that. There's some good and bad going to large events like that. I preferred small ones, but
people. I mean, stacking rocks is a very known people thing in the hiking.
Put up about 150 tree branch X's out in the.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I just say, yeah. I mean, Brent, pay close attention. So whatever. Stay up a little later and pay attention to what you're hearing, and then the next day when everybody comes out of their tents and whatever breakfast is happening, and then people start going, I heard this and blah, blah. And then the Bigfoot activity narrative, compare that to your own experience and be like, fucking Bigfoot around here last night. Like, I'm not buying that. I didn't hear shit, And, dude, what are the odds? What would Bigfoot ever want to have to do? Even if you just happen to plop down within a couple hundred yards of one, which is really what it would take to get their attention. There's 40 fucking people. There's a fire. There's all kinds of talking. Why would it start going like, why would it ever agitate that hornet's nest of humanity?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you figure with their MO being elusive, not being seen, I mean, why would they draw any sort of attention to themselves as far as anything that they do? So, I don't know. I'm just expecting to go have some fun and go interact with people who really love the subject. I want to keep my mouth shut, though. I'm not going to tell anybody my YouTube channel. That's for sure.
Be careful what you say and how you say it. I agree with that. I think that's a smart play. But
I'm
the
gonna
other
be
thing
respectful to everybody and all that fun stuff.
the other thing is, if you're hearing whoops 150 yards out in the damn woods, like, hey, okay, like you got a little squad, maybe 2 or 3 guys with you, men. Rush it with lights. Like, why not? Why not go look? Or if you see
I
red
would.
eyes, light it up with the brightest spotlight that somebody has around them. Like,
I th-
be
I thought
curious.
I thought I saw Bigfoot once, like many years ago, and I chased after it. Didn't know what it was, but it was there. Chased it, couldn't get very far because of whole forest and stuff. But yeah, that's the thing that really I notice a lot when Bigfooters start having Bigfoot activity. They usually just jet out or don't find a conclusion to it. Which creates more misinformation, myths, or all that stuff with it.
Yeah,
Kind of
I think
sucks.
it's because of it's actually a lack of curiosity, because if they have Bigfoot on the brain and they hear something that doesn't sound familiar to them, then if they assign it to Bigfoot, there's no curiosity. They just made it what it is. Well, it's Bigfoot. It can't be anything else. There's no curiosity at all, and that's part of the delusional, like, Bigfoot activity that's not actually happening. It's just that's part of the delusion. In my
Yeah,
mind.
even if I'm there and I come across something and I know what it is, and they're all like, hey, this is Bigfoot or something, I'm not even really going to say anything because it's, like you're saying, nobody wants to be that guy. Nobody wants to be that guy at the party or something, like just taking it down by notch by notch. I've gone out Bigfooting with people and that are like, that got Bigfoot on the brain, and I could just tell their excitement with me going down, as far as them not wanting to be with me anymore because it's kind of just ruining that little love that they have for the subject. And it happens, I guess.
The emotional attachment, again, back to the, I stopped short of saying cultish, or it's almost a religious fervor, the emotional beliefs and cherished beliefs that people attach themselves to. And why not? They hear story after story after story. It's entertaining. They're fascinated by it, and so they attach themselves to it emotionally. I get that part. I mean, I see the psychological failure with the narrative and the online community.
It makes them lose sight of the objective. When you're out there and you say, we haven't experienced anything, that proves that could have been Bigfoot, they're coming back at you with the rebuttal of, well, we can't prove that it wasn't. Well, we're not out here with the objective to prove that something wasn't Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's a fallacy.
That's the idea is, let's go out here, and as long as we can't eliminate the fact that it couldn't have been Bigfoot, we keep this dream alive. I mean, it's like that's the objective for them.
Yeah.
It's not looking for the proof. It's looking to make sure we don't prove that it can exist. I guess that's the objective.
Absolutely. The objective is fun. I'm special. I'm on an Indiana Jones adventure. This is so much fun. And so you put yourself in that position and you're vulnerable to hearing a barred owl and thinking that it's Bigfoot. Because it's more fun. Barred owls aren't that fun. They're kind of cool. They're interesting birds, but it's way more fun that, holy shit, that was a Bigfoot. I'm around a Bigfoot. I'm special. Again, the most amazing discovery in modern human history, biological discovery ever. And you think you're fucking 200 yards within one? Doubt it. Especially,
I don't know, man.
This is repeated over and over again from every single goddamn group that goes out and does what you're talking about, Brent. They all say the same shit. They just happen to be that special enough to be around the most amazing discovery ever. Yet, fat fucking goose egg every single time of any kind of evidence of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. there are people that I do, I don't know. Never mind. I won't go there.
Well,
No, it's okay.
anyway,
It's
yeah, whatever
okay.
you think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know. It's an interesting subject. I kind of, it's like you get the blue pill or red pill, and it's like I think I want to go back to the blue pill sometimes because, or was it the red pill? I don't know which one. To go back into the matrix of, having Bigfoot be as real as people are making it out to be. Because after 10 years, I'm at the point where it's like if Bigfoot's real, it's incredibly rare to the point where I can't fathom it being in 50 states, or 49 states here and in Canada everywhere. All these, I just cannot fathom that. I can't at all. And but what's the common denominator with it? With all these encounters and all that stuff, it's people. People making all these claims, and I think Bigfoot subject is just ripe with people that just want to utilize it as a tool or as a crutch or whatever to do whatever they're trying to do. Like, I don't know, like with that Bigfoot King guys, is he like asking for money? Does he throw out like his PayPal, like, hey, support me, do this, do that?
No, he didn't do that. No.
Oh, that's good. I saw that Swan Lake Bigfoot did that now, or he's now wanting people to buy property for him so he can go Bigfooting on. He's like, if all my 8,000 subscribers just gave me $1,000, and it's like, fucking hey, man, it's crazy. But some of the grifting is so blatant and bad.
That's the other aspect of it, is that it's undeniable there's money on the table because there's an audience for it, and where there's an audience, there's money, and so there's money on the table. And people will take the money on the table. There's plenty of people that are going to take it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could have done that. I could have went down that road.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could have started Squatch Talk as an encounter show and just jumped straight into the business side of Bigfoot. And if I had chose to do that, I'd have really no moral problem with it. Because it's not deadly, you know what I mean? It's not like dangerous, really. I just chose not to, and so now I can't take that back, But there's money on the table, bro. It's there. It's
hard
to do.
I mean, Colorado Bigfoot had a trailer bought for him, brand new 22-footer, I think it was, or that was bought by one of his subscribers, and I don't know. I guess some people just have that gift and no consciousness surrounding it.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, look at what Standing does. $3,000 a head for his Bigfoot.
But even away from the most egregious examples like that, I really don't understand the when you go to a conference, I don't care where it's at, any of these bigger conferences, if you're going to be there speaking or you're going to be there as part of a roundtable, you're wearing a lanyard that says VIP on it. I mean, very important person, I wouldn't even be I wouldn't even be comfortable wearing that bullshit. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm there for the fellowship and to learn from each other, and to be there with this attitude that somehow in this condescending nature that I stand above the rest of you in some way. And I don't understand where that comes from. And part of that, I guess, is what fuels me to not understand why you'd have a giant truck and paint on the side of the box the Bigfoot King.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of that? I mean, I'm not. That's his decision. That's his deal. I'm not here saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying, me personally, I don't get that. If I owned a car dealership, it wouldn't be Jeff Harding Chevrolet. It might be Dynamic Chevrolet or something like that. I don't get the vanity part that some people milk every freaking drop they can out of it in this community.
Well, I think that's audience participation. So at least on the conference side and the celebrity, I'm just going to say, because there are celebrities in the Bigfoot world, even though no one else in the fucking regular world would ever recognize these people walking down the street, right? For the most part. It's the audience. The audience wants that. They want the "you're better than me." Like
Mhm.
the audience is always looking for knowledge.
They're looking
always
for the
looking answers.
entertainment.
And it's entertaining to have even Cliff Brockman get up on stage and do his teacher speech,
Mhm.
and the audience gobbles it up. Okay, and so that's the relationship. And I mean, if you're Cliff Brockman, why not? Again, it's not to pick on him, but anybody, especially a newcomer who starts getting offered these places at conferences. I mean, dude, it's actually could be a powerful thing, especially to certain kinds of people that aren't used to it. You know, most people have never been in front of an audience of 1,000 people. The vast majority of people on this planet have never stood in front of an audience of 1,000 people. You and I have. You and I know what that feels like. Not only what it feels like, but to actually perform for 45 minutes, an hour or more. Most people don't know what that's like, and it's the first time they get it, it's like a drug,
Mhm.
So let's say whatever, because they're not playing guitar, like.
Well, so don't you think that leads to a lot of enabling with each other, though, of each other's shtick of, which, just kind of,
It's a click.
is,
I
yeah.
think it kind of brings out a dual personality in some people. And I'll use Cliff as an example because I know there's a lot of people out there that I respect their opinion that will tell you when you sit down one-on-one with Cliff Barackman and you spend some time with him, this guy is amazing. He will listen to you. It's a two-way conversation. And yet when you hear him speak about something on a show or at a conference, it feels like this guy is putting everything out forward. And if you tried to offer something to the conversation, you almost feel like just shut up and let him speak. Like you whatever you have to say is in the backseat and inferior to what is being the gospel that's being preached here. I feel that way
Yeah.
when I hear him speak. Like this guy is so condescending. And yet I talk to people and they're like, dude, he's not like that when you want to. And I start wondering, is there a dual personality that exists when you get in that environment of a conference and everybody's lifting you up and they put the VIP lanyard on you, and the mic in front of you, and you got a couple hundred people edge of their seat waiting to hear what you say. Do you become a different person a little bit, do you think, for some people? I think it does.
Yeah, I could definitely lead to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, dude. Like I get that on so many levels. But I mean, I'll say this, like more importantly, it's like, yeah, I mean, I think somebody like Cliff is going to carry the water more than he's willing to be honest. So he's not. I don't think he can handle the hard questions or the hard conversations. Because he has to take off that mask,
Yeah.
and become the other person that you're talking about. And he's not willing to do that
See,
in public.
now what
you know.
Steven said there about Cliff, okay, now look, Steven's probably had an opportunity to really get to know him, okay? But I look at it like this. I seen Cliff on Doug's show as a guest, and I remember Cliff going on and on saying, this is the way it is. This is why Bigfoot would do this. This is what I expect to experience when I'm out there. And Doug or somebody that was there on that panel said, well, what if you tried this or what? And it was like, no. It's like Cliff was just like, nobody's right except for him. Like, you can't bring up, there was no acknowledging of, well, that could be. I didn't hear anything like that from him. So that's why it made it kind of hard to digest that this guy isn't just, he's subscribed to what he believes for so long that nothing you have to put forward or offer is of any use to him. That's the feeling you get when you hear him speak on some of these shows. And yet I see people like Steven here say what almost appears the exact opposite when it comes to personal time they spend with him.
Again, like, I appreciate your comment, Stephen, of course. But what I'll say is that, like, I'm not saying, yeah, Cliff's a bad guy. It's just that he'll carry that water. So it may be all about Bigfoot. True. But he's carrying the water. He's going along with the false narratives. He's all too willing to engage in that. The guy said that, one of the best pieces of footage, was fucking, oh God.
Freeman?
Why is this name? Nope. The stupid guy from
Gatewood
Florida that
Patterson film?
No, that won the Bigfoot show. What's his name? The $10 million Bigfoot bounty winner guy that had the stupid thermal footage. Why am I
Never
forgetting
watched
this?
it.
Come on, chat. Come on, chat. Help me out here. What's that dude's name? Like, it's total bullshit. And Cliff was like, he got all behind
Stacey
that.
Brown. Stacey Brown.
Yes, exactly. Like, he lifted that footage up like it was something important. I'm like, that's the dumbest footage I've ever seen. Like, it's completely hoaxed. There's nothing conclusive about it. So, like, you shouldn't even opine, dude. Like, so it's things like that in the narrative. Like, Cliff is one of these guys that claims he has a research area. Well, why aren't there 15 fucking scientists plowing through it for biological evidence? Like, what the fuck is a research area? What is that? I don't know what that is, because it's never defined or quantified at all. It's an area I think Bigfoot's in personally. So it's again, the personal experience, it's my experience. I'm Indiana Jones. I feel special. And so he may be a great guy, but he'll carry that Bigfoot water, and like Steven, if you know him personally, you should kind of bring that to his attention, because that's my judgment of him.
Yeah, I don't know. Cliff always seemed like a nice guy. I don't know. I walked past him once. He's like incredibly short. It's like, oh, hey, that was Cliff.
Hey,
sorry.
Whoa.
Didn't mean to do any short jokes.
Is that why Bobo looks so big? Is he's just next to Cliff?
Could be.
You know how tall I am, right?
I do not, actually.
I'm 5'6", bro.
Woo!
Sure, man. You'll be talking.
You look a lot taller sitting down on camera.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, like at least 5'7", maybe.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
when I'm wearing my cool boots, I'm like 5'7.5", bro.
You're not sitting on a stack of books, are you?
So I got a question for you guys that has to. Let's get away from the famous people and we've probably taken enough time poking at the Brockmans and all that. But I watched a movie the other day that really intrigued me with the technology that was featured in the movie, and so I started doing some research on it. The movie is Land of Bad. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's on Netflix. Russell Crowe is in it. He is a drone operator in the military. And he operates the full-size, like bomber-size drones, the unmanned ones that carry the Hellfire missiles and the satellite surveillance, all that, right? And in the movie, they have like 4 operators that are trying to save a prisoner who's being held in the jungle somewhere. And they're flying this drone kind of as Overwatch. It's like the size of a bomber. But they would talk in their comms with the guys who were controlling this drone. And they would say, here's where I am, shoot him grid coordinates. He'd pop up, look at him on this drone. I mean, he's watching them from like 18,000 feet, and he sees their faces like us right here on this camera, what we're seeing on the screen as they're standing in the trees and whatnot. I mean, it was crazy how clear this was, right? From 15,000 feet, okay? And I'm thinking, are they blowing this a little out of proportion, with the Hollywoodization of this? So I started doing some research on the drone technology that's out there and how easily it is for them to see stuff into these forested areas and see clearly, both thermal and, regular camera, how clearly they can see stuff. And I'm just telling you right now, unless you've got 300 or 400 drone operators sworn to secrecy, it starts feeling like, how can this thing exist out here in the wild and not eventually be seen by one of these guys?
Because nobody's really looking for them from the air. So the military, the military doesn't just go everywhere in the United States, operating their equipment. They have MOAs.
I understand that. I'm just saying, out of all the different areas that they're watching and they're surveilling, is there movement here? Is there a concern here? Whatever, all of that throughout Canada, throughout everywhere in the United States, by chance, with that kind of technology from that type of Overwatch, they haven't ever ran into an image that they've looked at and said, whoa. Now, I understand that if they did, you could cover this up and that there'd be a lot of holy shit, this doesn't get out there. But when you start talking about 400 or 500 drone operators throughout all of the military, now you're starting to say, you're telling me there's not a dozen of them that wouldn't walk away from that and say, you aren't going to believe what I saw? I mean, it's
a good question.
To feel weird, dude, with the technology that's out there that we're still here. It just doesn't feel right.
So it's a valid question, and I will validate it for you immediately. If the United States military wanted to find a Bigfoot, if they just collectively said, hey, let's go look for these things and find them if we can, they would fucking find one within 24 hours.
Oh, guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Yes. So I'll give you that validation of their capabilities.
If they were to rein in the capability of the satellites that are out there, the surveillance capability they have, you're right. In 24 hours, they would have undeniable footage. Nothing way better than Patterson's footage, even. But go on.
Oh, times a million. Yeah. Times a million. And so, I know, I happen to know for a fact that, Predator drones, which would be like Reaper drones now or whatever, have been operating over the Adirondacks. There's a military operations area, MOA, over the Adirondacks in upstate New York. So where they fly Predators or now Reapers. And so they train. And so that's the situation. People think that Bigfoot's out there in upstate New York, and the Adirondack range is a huge range that they could be in. So it gets down to, well, what pattern are they flying? What specifics are they actually training on? And you're interjecting but you would think from that aerial view, you might you might see something that is interesting. I don't know. That gets into the whole business of actually being in the military and what are you training? How are you training? You know, could Bigfoot escape that? Maybe.
Well, then you've also factoring in this at least once a week, somewhere in North America, somebody is lost or somebody's injured and they're trying to get a location. And we have helicopters in the air with thermals and everything else searching for this lost person or this hurt person, or looking at a wildfire that's burning and looking at the downwind direction of 20 miles away, what would be in the path if it continued that way. And they're looking with high def cameras, thermal cameras, everything. You start factoring all that in, even outside of the military, and you start realizing the wide web of technology that exists in the surveillance of these remote areas. And we're still where we were 60 years ago with Patterson-Gimlin.
I agree 100%.
This is getting hard to swallow, man. Really hard to swallow.
Well, for you to say that, that means a lot. But
yeah,
I agree.
Because I mean, people will say, "Well, how can you say that, Jeb? Because you had an experience." Look, I'm looking at the facts and the reality of what feels real to me, and if that puts me back, looking back at my experience, saying I have to figure out a better way to try to figure out what the hell happened to me that day, then that's what happens. That's where I'll be.
Yeah,
I might have to consider, was there something beyond flesh and blood that explains what happened that day? Or was it just a human out of its niche of some sort or whatever? Because when you look at the purported numbers and you see the maps of a pinprick of everywhere in North America, there's been sightings, the thousands upon thousands of plots that are tacked out on those maps, and you read all these Class A encounters from people, a lot of them people of integrity. I mean, it's not just a bunch of flakes here. And then you look at what we are capable of and the wide web of surveillance that exists over even these remote areas, not full time, but certainly often enough that by chance we should have found something that says, whoa, we have a wildfire crew that has this on a video, or we're searching for a lost hiker and here's a thermal of this. We're not getting any of that.
Or pot grows. That was a big thing. I had somebody on my show who used to participate in federal pot, looking for pot grows in Northern California. I had this guy on my show, and he's like, we never saw anything like that. You know, I went on dozens and dozens, and like all these guys. I was part of a task force. We were in helicopters. We had the most advanced thermal technology ever. And trust me, we were looking for human forms, right? And if we found one, we honed in on it because we're looking for pot grows. Like, what's this guy doing out here in the middle of the woods? And he had nothing to offer, and he was interested in Bigfoot. That's the thing. This guy was interested in the subject, and yet here he was on a helicopter task force missions with advanced technology, just like you're talking about, Jeff. Just another branch of it, and he's like, "Sorry, absolutely nothing to report here."
And you have to look at the parameters that some of these people operate under, and would there be even the ability or the motive to try to report something? For instance, like what Raptor brings up a great point. Why don't we go out and start interviewing all these trappers, right? I'll tell you what, if I live off the grid in northern Canada and I'm a trapper and I've had an experience like that, the last thing I want to do is tell people about it and have 100 people romping through my trap line area where I make my living looking for something. I don't need that. There's no win that comes for me in the win-lose scenario or the risk-reward scenario. There's no reward in telling anybody anything. There's none. Not if you're a trapper.
Sure.
I need that land undisturbed to make my living. Nobody's going to pay me for a story or for pictures of footprints. So I get why we don't have people like that coming forward, but it's, and then Ninja says, technology is not going to prove its existence. I get that. Patterson Gimlin didn't prove its existence to science. So, I'm not saying that it would. I'm just saying, why haven't we gotten another Patterson Gimlin or way better quality, something to talk about when you look at the web of technology that's cast over North America?
Well, not just that, not just the Patterson Gatewood video, but the Morehead audio too. The recordings that he has never been duplicated again. And I was listening to Scott, what's his name, the dude who did the Scott Nelson. Yeah, I was listening to his interview or some presentation. He's been back there 10 times to that location and has 0 recordings of Bigfoot there. It's like, wow, that's weird.
Did you look into any more of that whole, I don't know what the total minutes that were released by Morehead originally, but, the 10 and a half, 11 hours of audio that exist. One of the problems I have with all this supposedly unreleased audio is anybody else that comes forward and says, hey, I've got an audio capture of Bigfoot. Are you sure you just don't have a sample of something we haven't heard yet from Morehead?
Yeah, I'm surprised. No, you got to actually pay
if
for
you've got 9.5,
access.
10 hours that you haven't released, anybody who says I've got a recording of Bigfoot chatter and it's not anything from the Sierra Sounds, it's different. Well, maybe it's from the other 10 hours of shit that Morehead didn't release.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I reached
the
out
problem.
to him. I reached out to him and did not get a response. Then I reached out to him again to ask him about the 911 call because I want to verify that. It's like I'm semi-local, so it's like, okay, so from my understanding, Morehead walked into the police station and said, hey, let's hear this recording or whatever, I'm guessing, right? Well, there's got to be record or some sort of, not of Morehead doing that, but maybe of some call logs, or maybe it's known in the I don't know, but that's always been kind of one of those things that you're talking about with the video. It's the same with the audio. That amazing audio has now not been replicated. That video has not been replicated. Why? Well, I don't know. Maybe they're not real. Those two things, and maybe Bigfoot, if real, isn't that. It's just those are human creations. Doesn't mean Bigfoot's not real. It just means that that's not Bigfoot in those videos and picture or audio.
Well, I will say this. If you were to have a bunch of audio and you released some of it that's really good, I mean, all of the Sierra Sounds as far as what you can hear and the quality that you can hear it and the volume you can hear it at, it's pretty intriguing, all of it. None of it's really that faint. But if you had hours and hours of audio that you had captured out there, you'd probably have hours of audio sounds that can barely be heard. The same things he recorded clearly, but happening a half a mile away. You know what I mean? Or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's absolutely could be so many more data points that could be reviewed and discovered if he would release it. But to my knowledge, the only way to get the vast majority of those recordings, as far as minutes and hours, is you got to buy a CD with it on there. Which actually owned that CD when I bought his book, and accidentally left it in a car that I sold. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine what those people are going to be like. Hey, let's hear it on the radio, and you start hearing all these Bigfoot sounds.
But when I interviewed him and Todd on my site, and Todd was talking about how when him and Ron and Peter Burns were all camping in a fifth wheel or in Ron's motorhome one night out in Washington State, they were sitting around the fire late that night, and Ron started playing some sounds that he hadn't released. And Todd said it blew me away what I was listening to. And he said, I stayed up all night long listening to cassette after cassette. He had a shoebox sized box that had like 9 90-minute or 8 90-minute cassettes that were full. He was listening to he said he listened to 3 or 4 full cassettes that night. And it was just amazing. He didn't say, oh, a bunch of it was really poor audio quality. No. He watched the interview I did with him. He said it blew me freaking away. And Ron doesn't deny it.
No, yeah.
And when I asked Ron, why wouldn't you release it? And he said, if somebody else was to bring forward audio that demonstrated some of these phonetics, meaning they had captured this in a different location on their own effort, then that would motivate people to realize, okay, let's listen to the rest of what Ron has, and they'd put some validity to it. He'd probably win some people that maybe he doesn't have won over at this point. But just releasing it right now, more of the same, basically, he said, I don't see the reasoning in doing that. Now, I'm trying to analyze that from his point of view, not from my point of view. Like, what's his reasoning and would it make sense if you were Ron Morehead, right? I get that, where maybe he's for every person he heard that said, dude, this is incredible, he heard a lot of people say this is bullshit. Does he really want to release more audio and hear more people saying this is bullshit? Or would he rather wait till somebody brought some audio forward and it has some of that chatter or some of those phonetics that were caught, and then that would validate what he has, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. If that was the case, then it's incredibly disappointing because they're waiting on something that will likely never show up. And in the meantime,
he's waiting on things that, like, what happened to the 400 down here with, what is it, Harrington and those guys who said they were out there and recorded audio, and the next day they played it at a conference, a small conference, and Scott Nelson was there, and Scott Nelson heard it and said, this blew me away. And he wanted to study it and see if the phonetics matched the alphabet or the catalog of phonetics he had captured from Morehead's deal, see if there was some similarities. And then after looking at that for a month or so, they were going to publicly release all this audio that they'd captured. I still haven't heard it. And that was a year ago.
Yeah.
So I just... That's the shit that happens in this community that makes people just say, fuck you, anytime somebody says, I think I got something. The natural response is fuck you.
Yeah, don't get ahead of yourself, right? And Scott Nelson, he's one of those people too, man. It's like he's one guy.
I know. Where's all these other? Yeah. Where's all these other people at that have that sort of profession and training? Where are they? Where are those people back? Actually, Scott Nelson did bring that up. He's in that little presentation that he did about how he showed all his friends, that are in the same field and stuff, and how they were blown away and stuff. It's like, well, why didn't you videotape it? Why didn't you get a testimonial of it? Like, why not do anything to help verify or help build a case for what you're trying to present? Like, if they're waiting for, like, oh yeah, we just want to wait till we find other recordings to help verify that it's Bigfoot. Well, shit, we haven't even verified that the original audio is Bigfoot. Let alone some. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. That's true.
So this whole title, right, of cryptolinguist, it's a very unfortunate title that you can only trace back to a very specific use of the military. Right, listening for foreign languages, right? And I'm not sure why it's called crypto. Here, I'll bring Eric in.
I think it's cryptid crypto, or crypto, right?
Yeah, cryptolinguist, which is a military designation, probably on ships, most likely in most places. And so, dude, there's going to be thousands of these dudes who are cryptolinguists in the military. That's what Scott Nelson falls back on as his experience. Where are these thousands of guys from the military to chime in or be interested at all? It's zero, absolute zero.
Well, it could be the same with the footprints too. What's up, Eric? Same with the footprint case too.
Again, we
You
need
guys hear me?
1,000
Sound
Dr.
good?
Meldrum. Yeah, you're good, man.
Well, I just wanted to hop
Yeah.
on because I heard you guys talking about the Morehead, walking
Yes.
into the station and getting that, and that's impossible. That's not how it works. And so that kind of puts into question his character right off the bat. I mean,
Yeah.
if he
So
did do
if
that,
this,
yeah. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
no, you're right. It's like it's something that could possibly be verified, and if it does, and
He
it doesn't
tried.
work out, it could really call into question about the whole Morehead tapes even.
Well, we Eric and I tried, and I'm not going to involve myself in too much of this, but I did inspire him. I said,
Sure,
Eric, I emailed him. I emailed him out of the blue, and we kind of started talking about it. I said, hey, dude, like, you're the guy. You look up all this shit. And I laid the case out. I'm like, there has to be a record of this. This 911 call probably exists. I don't know how it works. And so Eric went into Eric mode. And
nice.
he talked to the sheriff's department in that county.
I did, yeah. Yeah, the Kitsap Sheriff's Department. And that's the other thing, too, because I believe he said he walked into a ranger station and got it.
He did. He contradicted himself. He said
exactly,
2 different versions.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but the Sheriff's Department was the one that they said they knew about the call, but they couldn't confirm, it was, they still had it or legitimate. Their records only went back to like the early 2000s for whatever reason that is. But I mean, if Morehead says he has it, he would have the report along with it, the transcript, all that type of jazz. So, I've said it before on another podcast. I challenge him to put that out there. If you did get the call, you're not just going to get it on a CD. They're going to give you the transcript of what happened, who was involved, all that stuff. So, I mean, where is that?
And there's another degree of stuff that I would question that has to do, and again, I don't have enough evidence to point and say any of these guys are in the wrong or trying to be deceptive. I'm just saying these are legitimate questions to be asked, okay? And when it comes to Scott Nelson, it wasn't just him breaking down the phonetics of what Ron had given him. First of all, I had a serious question for him in how do you come up with 600 different phonetics from 19 minutes of audio or whatever was originally released?
Right.
It seemed to me that maybe Ron gave him, if he had 10 hours of audio, and told Scott, I'm not releasing all this, but I'm going to let you use it all to come up with a pattern. Because it seems to me you'd need about that much material to come up with 600 different phonetics. Now, I'm not a professional. I'm not a crypto linguist, okay? But it just seems kind of weird that you came up with 600 different phonetics off of the original release, okay? It seems like you would have needed more. Second thing is, Scott had claimed that he used a bio whatever at a university that looked at those recordings, a short version of each of them he gave them. And what they were studying was the arterial background noise, okay, which is a fingerprint when it comes to audio recording. What I record outdoors at night in my backyard versus what Eric would record outdoors in his backyard versus what Pat would, they can come up with very distinct arterial trademarks to that. That has to do with elevation, that has to do with just the hum of insects, the movement of air. It all leaves this, when you put on a spectrograph, it leaves a fingerprint, right? And so they went through this and said all the different samples that were provided by Morehead were in fact all recorded in the same location. They were able to validate that. But when I say they, who the hell's they? Because we haven't been told who they was, right? That's what Scott said. And one of the things that is, if there's truth to it, if Harrington was to bring, or anybody was to bring audio forward from this point on and play it, they should be able to look at that and say, that's different than the area that Ron's was recorded in. That's a whole different arterial background to that noise, to what you have there. So I take comfort in knowing that if anything new was brought forward, you'd be able to tell if it was something that was separate from the whole Morehead, whatever he has going on. But I don't like when you start saying, hey, these guys listened to it and they said this and who's they?
Right.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. The other thing is like, try to get a degree in what is it, crypto linguistics. Go ahead, try to do that. Doesn't exist. You're not going to be able to do that. It's a I don't want to say a made up thing, but the government, it's a thing that was proposed by the government. I think it only takes about 6 months to become a crypto linguist. So with that, it's like, really? And I really like to know how he found this guy, Nelson. Was there did they meet
Nelson
at a
found
Bigfoot
him.
conference or something? Well, there
No,
you go.
Yeah.
Nelson
no,
came
no.
to him.
Yeah,
Nelson
yeah,
found him.
yeah, yeah.
It makes a little more sense now. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he heard Ron's recordings on YouTube when his son was doing a project, and he was fascinated by it, and eventually got in contact with Ron. I don't recall if Scott says that he got access to all the audio, to go review it all, to get all those data points that he's trying to talk about. But
I would think that Ron let's just say this. If there are 10 or so hours of audio and Ron has kept that under his belt for decades until now, or in the last year, let's say, because I think I was the first show to break this, because I had discovered it after having a behind the scenes talk with Todd. And I said, do you think Ron would come on and talk about this? And he said, no. And I said, ask him. And then I talked to Doug and said, this is what I've heard. And Doug says, let me ask him. And then Todd came back to me and said, let's do a show with Ron. He's willing to talk about what happened that night. And so that's what we did, is we didn't talk about the night or the nights of the Sierra Sounds. We talked about the night he was camping with Todd and Peter Burns, and he broke those tapes out and how he introduced them. Do those exist? Yes, they do. Yep. He admitted it. That was where it all spilled open, okay?
That was the first time ever.
Assuming that prior to that, Ron wanted to keep that a secret, I would think he would have, if he would have gave all those tapes to Scott Nelson, Scott would have been signing an NDA, an agreement, saying that I promise that whatever you release, I will never acknowledge that more than what you released exists. If you want to put out 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 50 minutes, I will never say bullshit there was 10 hours. He had to have had Scott signed on a deal for that. If he was going to say, I'll let you analyze these and come up with I'll let you study them, but here's the deal. I'm not going to release all these. I'm only going to release. He had to have him under some sort of a written agreement.
Maybe, yeah.
Has he ever produced the original tapes?
From what I understand with Todd, it was the original tapes that he was staring at in that box.
Which, yeah, that's a little weird.
That he kept in his camper, in his RV.
Yeah, you think they would degrade.
In a cabinet. Like they're out drinking bourbon, 1 a.m, sitting around the campfire, smoking cigars. And Ron says, you want to hear some more of the Sierra Sounds? Boom. Here comes the shoebox. Like, is that in that cabinet all the time for the last 40 years? I mean, wait a minute.
What's up with the contradiction?
Yeah, that's pretty big right there. That's a big one right there.
I heard in a recent podcast that now he's saying that he had seen these things outside of his camp. I want to say that I had seen a new one, and he said, I didn't get a good look at it, but I saw this. At first he was saying he didn't see anything, but on a podcast that I had seen recently, he was saying that he saw something, but he didn't really go into detail about it. And I thought that was kind of interesting too. Like, where did that come from? You were on that documentary and you never mentioned that, or
Yes, and I'll tell you another 2 things that are kind of important with all that, if I may. opine for a second. Number one, I heard Meldrum talk about something I've never heard him say about Ron anywhere else. And I just happened to catch it. It was on a non-Bigfoot podcast. It was like some outdoor channel or something. These guys wanted to talk to Meldrum. And they asked him about the Sierra Sounds. And Meldrum went into this sort of criticism about Ron's book, saying that he didn't really buy into that, right?
The whole quantum thing.
Yes. And then
right.
And then he touched on, well, I know Ron, we meet at conferences, we talk. And one time Ron at a conference came to me and said, I actually have pictures of footprints that we took, after the event or whatever, the sound event. And I'd like to show them to you. And Jeff's like, yeah, show them to me. And so whatever, I guess Ron sent them later on at a different time electronically. And Meldrum basically said, this is a joke. This looks amateurish and foolish. Like, he really, without being harsh, like making fun of it, he was basically like, in my professional opinion, these pictures that Ron sent me were a joke.
But here's the thing, Pat.
Bigfoot,
you should have been able, a professional should have been able to look and say, were those pictures taken in the period of time that those recordings were done? Am I looking at pictures that are 40 years old or whatever? Or am I looking at pictures that have recently been taken of something, you know what I mean?
Jeff was saying, he was like, it looked like it had webbed feet. I mean, he was completely poo-pooing on this, man. He was like, it was silly. It was like, this is silly. Like, it looks like it has webbed feet. So maybe there was something else going on in Ron's head about what he wanted to portray these things at in 72, the year I was born. And so, I mean, I thought that was really fascinating that he completely poo-pooed on Ron's pictures, basically saying they were a joke.
And I like what Steven's bringing up here. I totally agree, Steven. I think if Ron had 10 hours of recordings or more, that when he had agreed to let Nelson really study what he had, he wouldn't have just given him what he's publicly releasing. He would have gave him the whole damn library and just got him under an agreement not to say anything.
Well, I don't trust.
Why would Ron not have given Nelson all of what he had?
Yeah, I just don't.
We just really need to verify via Ron, and I've already reached out to him and failed. We need to verify through Ron on if the audio still does exist, and if so, can we all please collectively listen to it for the sake of the subject?
10 or 11 hours worth of cassettes in that box that night that Todd said he listened to half of them that night.
Never gonna
My question is, were they the original ones? Or is it, in fact, did the originals burn up in a fire and what you had in that box, they are copies of that?
Right.
Just curious.
Or maybe it was what was involved to hone that skill of
exactly,
which can be done by human beings.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Proved, absolutely proved. So the other thing is this. I'd like to say this. So there is another professional involved in this analysis, okay? And it's my mother, who just happens to be a 40-year veteran of speech pathology with the highest degrees of language and how speech works. And she's very talented. She's helped a lot of people with speech problems, all that stuff. My mom is a professional when it comes to all the shit that Scott Nelson talks about with vowels and verbs and speech and all that. She is the highest level degree of educational professional, 40 fucking years.
Did you run it by her?
I played her the fucking Sierra Sounds and she thought it was absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't pique her curiosity one bit at all. And so I thought that was interesting that I had a professional in my life that seems to be like even higher level than Scott Nelson, who just basically listened to it and went, "That's absolute nonsense. Like, that's a nothing burger. Like, you're like, what are you playing? Like, what are you trying to tell me? Because I'm a professional and I'm telling you that that's nothing but just like people like spitting garbage out of their mouth, basically." It didn't pique her interest at all. And so
Steven's comment here that he just put up, the last thing he says, the shallow pond or pool of the originals is really important to consider here, because I'm just going to tell you this. You go down south and you order something to drink in a restaurant, they all call it a Coke. You go out east, they call it a soda. You go up north here, they call it a pop, okay? We're all talking about the same things. We use different words. That is happening all the time. Even in mannerisms, it's different in different parts of the country. So this is one of the things that I had an issue with Vaughn's claim of the tree knock language that he thought he had a Morse code that he had deciphered of. Is what 2 knocks followed by 3 knocks means in Texas. You're going to assume that means the same damn thing in Alaska? That pattern, if it was a pattern and was decipherable between more than one Sasquatch as communication, may just be in that clan that's what that means, right? I mean, if I tell you, Pat, hey, if I click my fingers twice and whistle, that means come over here, right? That's not what that means to Brent, where when me and him are in the woods, maybe, you know. So
that's secret code.
To say that these Sierra sounds would have been applicable to any language spoken anywhere else by that species, that's a very shallow pool when you've only got one geographical reference of it.
Yeah, but even that's a stretch to me. It's just like it's all kind of adding up. There's too many red flags, and the one thing that's really struck me, which is funny to me, and I'll just throw it out there about the whole thing, is like I've always thought of Ron. I'm like, man, that guy, he has a golden voice. And he does. Ron Morehead has a naturally gifted golden voice. He could do Kraft macaroni and cheese commercials all fucking day long, man. You know, like, and make you want to eat them. I'm like, this guy should be narrating my life. You know, that's the kind of voice I want to narrate my life, and it just doesn't escape me. He has a golden voice, and this is all about voices. And even the 911 call, because that guy he really sounds legit. And I'm not saying that was Ron Morehead, like in the 911 call. It's just something connection about Ron Morehead as a golden voice, and here we have these voices that have kind of propelled him into some kind of fame, at least in the Bigfoot world.
And he's out there. Here's another thing that's interesting just to consider. Again, it's not me saying that this is a motive of his or that there's reason to suspect. I'm just saying that he's walking a path through the fame and the conferences and the notoriety that is very unique to him. His claims of what he's analyzed, you know, and I said this when I had him on my show, I don't subscribe to his quantum theories, okay? But I will tell you this, he didn't just get drunk one night and come up with it. He's put a lot of thought into what he's pitching out there. He's thought about this inside and out for years to get to where he's landed where he is. And he does not just throw something out as rhetoric and then walk away from it. You want to question him about it, he'll stand there and have the conversation for hours with you in detail of where he stands and why. But here's the thing. Who else is saying what he's saying? No one. That's unique. You go listen to what Cliff's saying, I can point out 5 other people on that same day at different conferences saying the same shit. But
He's trying to
Ron's
sell
out
his
there. Ron's
theory.
marching to a beat that nobody has been listening to. That's
Well, you need a
unique.
gimmick.
Like,
He needs a gimmick.
he's found a niche
A
that he
unique sell
can
point,
control on
UPC.
his own.
Exactly.
He's
Yeah.
wrote
It's
a book about it. It's a niche that he can
definitely a
control
niche,
on his
yeah.
own and
Mhm.
doesn't have any competition to walk that path.
I agree. You're right about that. He definitely has a niche, and it's a niche that's important enough that he could show up to any conference, or he could be on any podcast, and or coast to coast.
And
you
he
know?
can cross over out of the Bigfoot subject because there is even more channels covering quantum physics that will say, let's go get this guy who's applying it to Bigfoot. That's something our quantum physics nerds haven't heard yet, right?
And then they'll make him look like a complete idiot when they actually talk.
He hasn't done that yet.
Yeah. I mean, to me, when I hear him
Yeah.
talking about the quantum physics thing, that's like Terrence Howard. Yeah, they put a lot of time into it,
Yes.
but it's just a maniac talking, about the dreams they've been having and all that type of stuff.
And you saw the
you're talking about
you saw
Terrence Howard.
you saw when he Weinstein came in and just like shut him down.
Yeah, I would love to see that with a quantum physicist. That would be hilarious.
Oh yeah, Weinstein would be like, actually, dude. Weinstein was pretty. He ended up being pretty nice about Terrence.
He was. I
think with Ron Morehead, it would be like, it wouldn't be so nice.
Game
like,
on.
I know he's been trying to get on Rogan's show, and he's made it known. He's been trying to get on Rogan's show for years. Okay, I saw a podcast where he talked about it because I think they played it on one of Rogan's shows, and he just kind of shit on it. And as you should, because it's trash. But yeah, no, he was saying like, Rogan won't have me on there, and I've tried talking to him about, why this is real and stuff. It just sounded really petty, and I mean, he's just trying to get more of that,
Didn't Rogan have Les, what's his name on?
Les Stroud, Jeff Meldrum.
And he did kind of cross over a little bit into some of the experiences that he's had out there. And I think they had mentioned the Bigfoot stuff, right? And I remember Ron, like, that was a sore spot for him. Like, he had Les Stroud on, and Les Stroud hasn't even put that much research in. It was like, whoa.
Right. That's how these guys are, though, man. That's how these guys are. Yeah.
Les Stroud's a multimedia guy, man. Les Stroud became famous because of Survivor Man, which was a fantastic, like, kind of real reality show, right? Like, I mean, like, Les Stroud's an interesting dude. There
was 2 reality shows on, Les Stroud and Bear Grylls. They both had those survival shows, and it came out that Bear, between filming episodes, was staying at hotels and eating room service and shit. And Les was actually staying on the island overnight doing what he's supposed to do.
Yes,
but I mean, Bear was kind of like the former SAS and all that. Like, this guy had it, right? But no, Les Stroud kind of beat him out in that whole game. But
no, you got to give him props. I mean, out there filming yourself is really hard. We did it for how many seasons? Yeah, it was great. But no, I know he's been trying to get on Rogan. I heard him talking about it on the podcast that he can't understand why Rogan hasn't invited him on and all this other stuff. It's cringy.
Yeah, that's hopefully somebody can reach out and talk to Ron and actually ask him some of these things that we've been talking about and stuff. And maybe I'll talk to you behind the scenes, Eric, because I want to ask to see what I could do to go walk into the police station and be like, hey, what's up? Can I get some information? What would the steps have been back then? Like who was working back then? Who was the chief back then? I might be able to find some sort of information to dig up with it because it's not far.
Well, when I talked to him they said their records only go back to 2000, but that's the digitized records. So I'm
Mhm.
sure they do have, files back there that are on paper. 100%. That's probably what's going on.
I just get a hold of Todd. Todd's got his ear all the time, and
Yeah.
that's how I would get a hold of Ron. It's just I'd use
Well,
Todd.
I did a request for, and this is
Who's
the other
Todd?
thing I kind of.
The guy
Yeah.
that was on my show
Nelson?
that was in the Marines that out in California was, I think his name's Todd.
Does it sound?
They were blowing shit up, and he saw that Bigfoot. And
Oh, Todd Neese. Todd Neese.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Todd
yeah. Okay.
Neese has Ron's
Yeah.
ear. They are close. And he's the one who originally put the tapes on my map and then talked Ron into coming on my show, which I will say this. I talked to Doug about it, and Doug said, let me mention something to Ron. And it was about a month later, Todd came back to me and said, hey, I talked to Ron. Ron's willing to come on the show. I don't know if Todd alone got Ron convinced to come on and have that conversation, or if maybe Doug had asked him. And then that made Ron feel like, holy shit, if this is going to start getting on people's radar, I'm going to come out and talk about it now. Like he's going to control the narrative that it's
Get ahead of
released,
it.
you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because just the timing of it, I waited like 5-6 months to hear, and Todd gets back to me and says, hey, Ron will come on the show. It's like, great, let's get him on. And that it still blows me away. I go back to my shows, and you look at the number of views on that, which aren't that much, and I don't get it. I had Ron Morehead on my show saying, I have 11 hours of the Sierra sounds. I would think that'd have 100,000 clicks the next day from the Bigfoot community. No.
That's why you got to make it a shorter, a little smaller video, so people can digest it a lot faster and easier. You know, people really need something under 20 minutes, 15, 10.
Brent, going back to just walking into the police station, all right. I just did a FOIA request for a 911 call out of Louisiana, and I had to submit it in writing, sent it in, had to pay for it. I had to send them a cashier's check just to get this information. So there's no way they're just going to say hey, buddy, can I get that tape? Sure, here you go. No paperwork or nothing. Go right ahead. That's never going to happen.
Because when did that audio come out? It was in the 90s, right?
It's in the 90s, yeah.
So, so if
supposed to be if we can, the audio came out like fucking 12 years ago.
That's a good point. It
was supposed to be from the 90s. It didn't come out in the 90s.
I think it came out in the 2000s sometime. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought it said 90s on there early. I haven't watched it in a long time.
That's when it was supposed to happen, Brent.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's the timeline.
And it just now
when this happened. Yes.
And how did Ron hear about this? How did Ron hear about that?
He never explains that. How did he hear about it? He met the guy. He met the guy. Wanted to bury.
And what I'd be interested in is Ron, when he talks about when they were there recording these sounds, how they got inside of that tree area or whatever. Wasn't there something about that tree was hollowed out or some shit?
Oh,
yeah, and they had a makeshift door.
Yeah, a makeshift door. They got inside of it. They were recording this. You can hear them talking and all this. Mm-hmm. But then you go back to the original visitations of that site of the hunting party that was there and hunting it and having those experiences. What was the difference in the 90s between that tree and back in the 70s or whatever when those guys started hunting that area? You know what I mean? That family had been going up into that area forever, dude.
The wood stove was removed at some point, but I thought that happened in the 2000s.
But since then, that whole tree and everything's just destroyed. It's not even there.
Yeah,
right?
Well, it was wildlife management that came in and shut down the tree shelter.
Yeah,
because they had a wood stove attached to it, and wildlife management was like, "No, you can't fucking do this." So that was kind of the story, at least, like how that shelter got shot down. Like why?
But I know that he was also saying like, oh, we didn't have the technology to fake this or whatever. And I was like, well, they still had like 8 tracks and tape and stuff like that. So it's not impossible.
A human voice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So hey,
voice.
So hey, real quick, Eric, where was that? Where did Ron say he walked into to get that recording?
2 different places.
Yeah, I believe he said at first
he contradicted himself.
Yeah, the
wildlife
link
management.
that sent me was what did he say? Ranger station, something like that. I reached out to the Kitsap Sheriff's Department.
Which ranger stations? Ranger stations do not. They don't have a 911 service. 911 is a municipal, county by county thing. Period. So
maybe somebody pointed that out and changed it. When did that recording first come out? Did Ron show up and say, "Hey, everybody, look at this recording I got at a Bigfoot conference," and it just released it that way? Or
that's what I'm wondering. That's what I was wondering. Where did it come from? How did it get out there?
The first time it ever hit the internet, it's been in the past 10 years. 100%. Yeah, because
I would say it's 15 years more or so.
Because it was on Chronicles was the first time it was ever heard. And then Wes used it. He started using it as part of his intro. And now a lot of other people use it. And so,
if Scott Nelson came to Ron, if Scott came to Ron and said, "I've heard this. Can I study this? Give me what you got, whatnot." He had to have heard it when everybody else heard it for the first time. How else would have Scott heard it and came to Ron?
Well, we're talking about the 911 call.
Yeah, the call.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought you're okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that 911 call, the very what is now famous as like, oh, get somebody out here,
It's actually it's 2 calls, isn't it?
2 calls, yeah.
2 calls.
There should be 2.
I don't know. My dog
reports.
It killed my dog. Like somebody killed my dog. It came flying over the fence about 20 feet. Killed my dog. Oh, it killed your dog, sir? Like, yeah. So it was 2 different calls supposedly. And no, that shit came out in the past 10 fucking years. I'm telling you, 100%.
Yeah, I want to say you're right.
The first time it was ever heard was on Chronicles, because Wes Germer started using it as part of his intro.
I remember that.
Chronicles.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was never heard before then. It was on when Ron was on Wes's show, and you got some interesting audio, and that's the first time it ever got fucking played. So that had to have been 10 years within the past 10 years. 100%.
See, and the sad thing is even if we can talk to Ron about this stuff, it's like I don't think he would really even want to have these type of conversations, because he is just probably going to feel that we're searching or seeking for to disprove him or something. I get that sense, at least, because these are pretty specific questions. Like,
yeah, I want to see the paper report. That's what I'm interested in.
Like, I can tell you that when me and Todd and him, when I had Todd and him on my show, and we were going to talk about Ron's book, the way that he didn't make me give him a list of questions that I was going to ask of him, but it was the first time I had a guest where ahead of time talking to him about this, about the upcoming show and stuff, was, I'm happy to talk about this. If you have questions about this, let me know ahead of time and I'll try to get them answered for you. Like, he was trying to control how that conversation was going to go. Like, he doesn't want to go and have somebody start throwing nails at him. If that's going to happen, he'll just decline it.
But it's not really nails. It's just getting more in-depth information about stuff he's presenting.
I understand that. I'm just talking about
he's going to take.
He was trying to promote his book because that's what's making him money right now. That's what's like getting people to say, "Hey, come to the conference." But
the old MK Davis thing, when you try to get him for an interview, he tells you he doesn't want to talk about the massacre, right? That's because he's got a new grift he's working on. It's crazy. I've lost all faith in these old school Bigfoot researchers that have been around that have produced jack shit. these past years they've been involved, and it's kind of like the boiling point now. I don't listen to anybody. I don't watch anybody.
If I was going to pay Ron Morehead to fly across the country and come speak at a big Bigfoot conference, what I'd be telling him is, I'm going to give you an extra $500, and I'd like you to play 5 minutes, just 5 minutes of Sierra sounds that you have not released yet. That's it. I don't even care what 5 minutes it is, so that I can promote saying Ron Morehead's going to be here. Come here, 5 minutes of Sierra sounds that have never been released before. You're going to have people coming from all over to hear that, right? I mean, not us maybe, because we understand there's something wrong here. But for those who are here to be entertained, yeah, that's a deal closer for them.
Yeah. And
what's that say? A lot more.
If he's not telling the truth about the 911 call, what else is he not telling the truth about? I mean,
exactly. Well, it's the thing like with Freeman there. It's like the dude got caught hoaxing Prince, and now nobody wants to bring you won't have Jeff or Cliff bring that up when they talk about how great the Freeman footage is. Why? They don't do that, which is really deceitful to people. That's really deceitful.
Example of that getting out of hand could be Todd Standing. And I've said this for a long time. I know there's a lot of people that say from the very get-go, bullshit.
Right.
But, I don't know that Todd woke up at 8 years old one day and said, this is what I'm going to do with this, okay? I think there was a natural curiosity that he was out trying to find something. And maybe he had a legit picture or was experiencing sound audio recordings that were legit. And then as people kept roaring for more, he started manufacturing shit that wasn't real to meet the demands that everybody was saying. That could have been where it went.
Well, you got to go back to his first. No. Well, his first project was a Bigfoot horror movie. That's a fact.
Yeah.
So once you go there,
it gives you a bad motive right out of the gate.
Exactly. That's his first. That's his first.
And even before that, Eric wasn't. So, I mean, wasn't he like actually talking about these mystical lands that existed where dinosaurs were?
That I'm not sure.
Yes, and so
I've heard somebody say that.
Yeah, the whole Sylvanic thing came from this mystical valley where dinosaurs still live. Yes, and so that's where he started. And so to produce a dinosaur is kind of hard. To produce Bigfoot, especially anything Bigfoot narrative driven, it's very easy. Even if he went to elaborate hoax kind of stuff.
I don't know about that. That's
my favorite. I mean, as soon as I hear the name Todd Standing, the video entry of him, running in his ghillie suit through the rocky creek. And jumping and sliding behind the bush. It was so Super Dave Osborne-ish. That's what it felt like, right? It was just Super Dave feeling. It shows him on the ATV and he goes over a jump about this tall. It's like,
well, I think it was Brent pointed it out that unlike that one of his videos where he's filming like the face in the trees. He's got like 4 cameras going, but he said his battery died on them. Like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense.
When Doug had talked me into coming over to Untold Radio and doing a show, I told him he said, let's work on your entry video, right? It's going to be about a minute and a half long. I said, I want to film my own. And he goes, what's your idea? I said, I'm going to do a spoof on the Todd Standing one. And he goes, what do you mean? I says, I'm going to get a ghillie suit on, and I'm going to ride like a 1978 Yamaha Enticer snowmobile, and I'm going to go over a jump about this tall and like fall off of it and then run and jump back on it again and get going. And I'm going to run across the creek and trip and just smash my face right in the weeds. And he goes, I don't get it. And I said, what do you mean you don't get it? Have you not seen it? And I said, I think if you did this, just the opening vid would go viral, man. He goes, yeah, I don't think it would. And I'm like, dude, I think you're missing the opportunity the ultimate spoof is
Yeah.
doing something to mimic what Todd was doing in his opening video. Trying to look like the $6 million man, but failing miserably in every cut, But
Yeah. I mean, it's just so painfully obvious. But for me, it's all become so painfully obvious. That, we talk about these things, we talk about these people, and it's, I'm like, there has to be a bigger conversation. Now, this is a great starting point to that. This is always a good launching pad, stepping stone, if you will. Can these people be nailed down? Are they willing to actually engage, whoever they are, right? These bigger names that have to answer hard questions, because that's what we're bringing up here. We're bringing up hard questions. We aren't bringing up personal attacks. This isn't about,
No more trust me, bro. No more of that.
Yeah.
I almost feel though that how much energy do I want to put forward in trying to ask questions of someone that will prove there's a negative light to shine here when majority of people speculate that to begin with, and I'm just trying to close the door on that, right? Versus looking at if you had the ability to do that. One of the things that I've been looking at is what's his name? The Small Town Monsters from New Hampshire.
Alex?
Yeah. So you
Alex
look at
Pettigar? Yeah.
Alex was on to something when he went to Alaska and started interviewing the natives and people who live there who have nothing to gain and nothing to lose. And said, did you have any experiences? Tell me about it. Because I think there's something there. I think when you go up into Saskatchewan and you find these old retired loggers sitting having coffee at the cafe, and you sit down and buy them a cup of coffee and have a conversation and say, let me ask you a question. And maybe only 1 out of 10 or 20 of them open up and talk to you. But you get 5 or 6 of those guys who have nothing to gain from this shit, guys, telling you what they experienced. I'd rather spend time doing that than fucking going after is Ron Morehead lying or not.
Right.
I just would. I think there's something to be gained from these authentic people who are in the position and in the geographical likely high target areas who had experiences, who aren't being offered money to talk about it. They aren't getting famous talking about it. They aren't risking losing loved ones talking about it. They're sitting in a coffee shop with somebody they don't know that's genuinely asking them, have you ever experienced anything? And if they choose to say, yeah, if they go into detail and take you on a little bit of a journey on what they're telling you, dude, to me, there's something to be heard there. Much more than any of the shit that's coming out of Ron's mouth.
Well, but even then, there's no way to verify if what you're being told is true. The thing with Ron Morehead the thing with Ron Morehead is you have the opportunity to find out if something is real or not, or if it's was faked or not faked. You can actually get definitive things, which would then call into question all the rest of the stuff that he's presented over his whole career with it. And also
who else was tied in with it, and who else shouldn't we been listening to? And is there a connection to Scott Nelson? And is there a connection to Peter Burns? And is there a connection to, I get that. Also, what Drifter said, I agree. I believe Alex is a great researcher, and I believe Alex has a true want to solve this mystery. But Small Town Monsters as a group, once they started doing the Dogman thing and everything else, it was just about the entertainment.
Well,
and I don't know that association really works in Alex's favor anymore, if I'm being honest.
No, Alex is a good dude. I know he had he had done some work on the Kentucky Mammoth Cave Bigfoot shooting that had happened. He did a video with a researcher from Kentucky, and that researcher, in my opinion, kind of took him for a ride.
Yeah.
That researcher said he did a FOIA request, and there was like missing documents and all that stuff. When I did my video on that Mammoth Cave thing, which proved it was a hoax, completely fabricated, the guy got arrested and lied to the cops and all this other shit. Alex reached out to me and said, "Hey man, can I tag your video on that video?" Because he wanted the truth. He wanted people to know the truth about what had happened.
Yeah.
All that was bullshit. Yeah, that Kentucky dude.
And Kaiju says that Alex isn't small town monsters. That's all Seth. I get Seth Breedlove as small town monster. I'm just saying, once Seth went down the path that he went with the Dog Man and all the other stuff that's obviously entertainment driven.
Yeah.
If I'm an Alex Petikoff, I don't think I'm associated with that anymore. We don't have anything else to work on together. I'm not going to spend time and energy with somebody who's going to delegitimize the serious research that I'm putting into the subject.
It's a good way. That's a really good way to look at it. That's kind of where I'm at now, Jeff. After about 3.5, 4 years of working with people that after a while you just come to see their true colors. It's learning through the fire here, I guess.
I mean, I experienced some of that with Untold Radio. I felt like, hey, look, I don't mind that there's shows that are out there in the fringe talking about stuff. That's not my show. Each of our shows have individual hosts, different branding. I say at the beginning of my show when I was on the channel, my views are my views. I don't subscribe to any theories that these other guests are holding. But the fact that you're part of a network of somebody who's out there talking about dogmen and feeding them roasts and shit like that, I don't know that really worked for me. And that's nothing against Doug. I get it. He understands the entertainment of that, and that there are people. I guess what he's looking at is phenomena. Okay. Phenomena is something that maybe you can't prove exists, but like we were talking about earlier, if you can't prove that it doesn't exist, then it's fair game to talk about it. Okay.
Good way to look at it.
If you want to talk about ghosts, if you want to talk about UFOs, Dogman, Bigfoot, there's all kinds of phenomena. Or we can talk about all kinds of shit that I can't prove exists and you can't prove that it doesn't, right? It's just phenomena. There are people on both sides of the line having the conversations in today's culture, and therefore it's a legitimate subject to feature. But when you're really focused on trying to unlock this mystery as it pertains to Sasquatch, getting convoluted in that, I don't think works to your favor. And in the long run, that's kind of where I landed. As much as I appreciate Doug, and he's mentored me in many ways, and I still value his approach to research. The guy is brilliant. The guy is amazingly smart. I just didn't see the market a bit. I mean, and listen, we talked earlier about how people run to the money. I can tell you right now, I've walked away from more opportunity than most people can process right now.
Yeah.
Because I was asked to go to Snell Grove. I was asked to be in 25 minutes of Legend Meets Sasquatch 2. I was asked to do all this stuff, and I didn't do it because I didn't see the value in it when you're in the process of trying to get answers. I don't want to have to create bullshit to talk about to fill in gaps.
Yeah.
I uncover research that is like, holy shit, we got to talk about it. Let's do a documentary on it. Until then, I'll watch what you put out, but I don't want to be a part of it. And I can tell you right now, had I done 25 minutes in Legend Meets Science 2, you know how much freaking money I would have made doing interviews and everything else after that? And selling books and shit. I said no to that. And most people in this industry, if there's a chance to make $5 walking a block away, they're walking the block. It just seems like everybody is.
Right.
But
I'm kind of in that same boat. I've had people want to use some of the stuff that I've been, researching, and they didn't want to mention me. They wanted to use it for a conference coming up or something. Hey, can I use that phone call you got or that documentation you got? But
I'm not going to cast a finger and of blame on people that are profiting while trying to do legitimate research. And I think Alex is a great example. I think the money that Alex has made being associated with the productions he's done with Small Town and things like that, I think he's used it to buy better equipment. He's used it to travel down to Florida and spend time with Matt Larson down there. He used it to travel on his own out to Alaska and do interviews. He's using it to research, okay? But I think there's a lot of people that get wrapped up in that money, and all it does is fuel ideas of how can I make more money, not ideas of how can I use what I've made here to try to further the research. Very few people, I think, fit into that box.
Again, it's a tough box to be in. If you find yourself, and I've seen this happen before, like through other means, okay? Once you start like finding yourself in a position where it's like, oh shit, I can have a career change here. Like whatever it is, shit that I do on YouTube, and I've seen gamers do it. Oh no, I'm probably getting disconnected. I've seen gamers do it. I've seen gamers make that transition, like people I knew. You become beholden to your audience no matter what.
Yeah.
You're gonna produce the content they want to see, because now you're not working in the warehouse anymore, and that paycheck is gone.
And you're gonna do it in numbers that if somebody coming from our circle was to question you, it'd be suicide on our part, just because they've got the numbers there to try to. I think we've seen that happen a lot of times, but that doesn't mean stand on the side of truth is the best way to go. I look at, like, let's say Lyle Blackburn started out as a rocker, had some experiences, started talking about him. That turned into a hot sauce brand, barbecue sauce brand. Everybody buy a hat like I wear. Every conference I can book, I'm coming to. I mean, I get it. He's wrote books on this. He's in shows, national TV shows. I don't know if he's out there really looking for the answers anymore or not. I'm not accusing him of not doing that. But it certainly hasn't hurt him going the route he's gone. Other than me saying, I'd like to have him on as a guest. And then afterwards, I look at what he's doing and say, I see all the money he's making. I hear the things he's saying, which a lot of cases with these people who are making money at doing this are just regurgitating shit that they've heard from people like us, to be honest, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
I've said
bullshit.
Stuff on my show that I've never heard anywhere else. And I've heard people out there the month or two later getting paid at a conference saying the same bullshit. And it's like, dude, you didn't come up with that original thought. Guarantee you.
No offense to any of you here right now, but the most interesting fucking guest that I could possibly get on my next show would be Erica the primatologist. Like, that would be a fascinating 2-hour conversation, especially given the fact that we talked, 3 years ago, and now I'm someplace different. And to pick her brain even that much more, I mean, that would be the most fascinating conversation I could have with anybody on my Bigfoot fucking show. Like, I don't want to talk necessarily, like, I'd rather talk to her than Barackman. Or
I said the other day, I listened to Renee on an interview talking about, she has a degree in natural sciences and whatnot. Okay. And she grew up in South Dakota here. She got her degree and spent all this time out in the Pacific Northwest. And that's where her interest came. She is the skeptic. She's the balanced skeptic of the original four. Right. But I got to tell you, I don't subscribe to all the things she says. Much of what she says, I don't agree with. but she talks about stuff in nature and the study of it and how you study it and how one thing connects to the other. And she lays that out to where I think, man, this was really informative. People could learn from her. You aren't going to get your Bigfoot questions answered from her, but the conversation was interesting, I thought.
Ooh.
I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. And so this is gonna maybe shift into another gear, which we can touch on. So I was the first one to ask her about the kid. So we all know who we're talking about, right? The kid. Everybody knows who the kid is, right? Yeah.
I don't think I'd know. But I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
That kid from England? Oh, the UK kid? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
UK
Yeah. Gotcha.
Because this is months and months ago. I caught wind that she was going to participate in the Bigfoot conference happening centered around the kid in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I asked her straight up. I said, wait a second. You know there can't be an undiscovered primate there. Like,
not in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like,
and I think
and so
Brian
she came-
knows that too. I think Brian knows that too, Pat.
Well, yeah, and so that this starts to get into a different area. But I thought it was really interesting that Meldrum and Renee were both willing to participate in this. And I asked her flat out, like, you know, that can't be an undiscovered primate. I mean, come on, you're the skeptic from the Bigfoot show, all that. And she gave me a long-winded political answer. Well, we don't know what Bigfoot is really, blah, blah, blah. And it was all nice. And I could tell that she was being all nicey about it, right? Because it's the kid, you know? And now, what has happened? There's been a huge controversy between the kid and Renee, or a kid's family and Renee, and with cease and desist orders, and like
Wow.
it's completely turned into
I didn't know it gone that
shit
far.
show.
That's crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
I know last week, or was it the week before, Brian King Sharp was over in the UK speaking at that conference. Meldrum appeared on camera over there. He wasn't there physically, but he was on camera over there speaking at it. And did Renee actually go then? She didn't go. Did she?
No.
What happened?
This all led up to her not being a part of it.
I don't know. I do not know what happened. But it's something to do with the family of the kid.
I'd seen something about that. Yeah.
And Renee was the one that threw out the cease and desist thing. Like, stop it, I'm done, kind of like, what the fuck? Like,
okay, but before that, there was something to do with his parents too, if I remember correctly. And I don't claim to know the answer to this, but you know, when this came out and people were talking about it, and they were like, "This is a young boy. Let's not hurt his feelings. Let's entertain and hear what he has to say." And that's how he got the momentum he got, was because he was a young boy. Didn't matter if what he was saying seemed unlikely. Let's hear him out, right? And then when people started getting critical of it, the parents stepped in some way, didn't they? Like like it got ugly with not just Renee. I mean, it was, but I never heard the details about anything that happened with Renee. It's interesting that there was seasons.
I don't know those details either. I only caught some of that, and I didn't get any like extra details other than like this shit was going on, and it was like disturbing.
Well, look, you got to understand that 90% of these people that want to portray themselves as researchers know what they really are and understand the value of marketing and entertainment and what's driving people to them. It's the entertainment factor, not the truth factor or the evidence factor. It's the entertainment factor. So if I was to sit down, I can name off 30 names of people at conferences right now that are big names, that if we were to sit down and have a burger with at lunch and say, what's the likelihood of Bigfoot being in the UK? They'd all say complete horseshit. Complete horseshit. All 30 of them would say that. But on camera, on a show, you ask them that, they aren't going to say it with that same approach, because there's a lot of entertainment and marketing that come from outside of the U.S., and they aren't going to risk that. They simply aren't.
Well, unfortunately, okay, the kid is a victim in all this. I say
Sure.
victim. He was interested
What
in
happened?
Bigfoot. He just.
I'm like,
I'm kind of like where
lost.
you are, Brent. Yeah, me too. What was the
I'll tell
trigger
you.
there?
I mean,
What did Renee do, or what did the kid do? Like, how did their conflict start? Why did they break up? Like, what's going on? Like, I have no idea.
It's just here's the thing. It's how it all started. The kid was obviously Easter egged. Okay, period.
Oh, yeah.
Story. He was totally Easter egged. Somehow it got into the media. The media blew it up, and then it hit the Bigfoot world here in the U.S. And then connections were made, and fucking here we are. All right, now we have cease and desist orders going on. All right, that shows you everything you need to know about this fucking subject. The poor little kid, man, he's interested in Bigfoot. Now he's like wrapped up in some controversy. He doesn't need that, you know.
Who sent it? Who sent the cease and desist?
Renee.
She did to the kid. Wow.
Yes.
Could have been to
Not
his
to the
parents.
kid, to the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kid is innocent in all this, obviously. Okay.
Huh.
Obviously. I mean, this is a
I wonder what they did to warrant a cease and desist from Renee. She seems pretty cool and legit, and have something like that come out, or have something like that happen is just like, it really is egg on the face for everybody in
I
that
don't know.
whole thing.
I'm just reporting what has actually happened. I don't know the exact minutia.
I wonder if the parents are like a big driving force behind it or something.
Well, and listen, I'm not saying this is the case,
like it.
but I could see where she would have enacted.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry.
DNA.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And they thought better being part of their document. Okay.
Yeah, Steven knows. See, Steven knows more than me.
Okay.
So this is, you got to understand, Renee has legitimate connections to Jeff Meldrum. So if she had a question about a print, or she had a question about something, she would have showed it to Jeff. The other thing is this: when people get in a dialogue to where they're mad at each other and it gets stupid, and some people get irrational and personal, Renee is very open about her background and her lifestyle. And there are things that someone could say about her that would quickly warrant a cease and desist. So I'm not saying that was done, but it could not even be Bigfoot related at all if it's just a personal argument that got out of hand.
Well, they must not have taken it well for her to send a cease and desist. Like, what were they saying after she didn't want to be a part of it? Like, that's
if she questioned it. If you're going to question what he's bringing, but Eric,
but it looks like a grooming charge. Exactly. It looks like it's grooming is what Steven's saying.
If you're
the family's starting to insinuate that he was grooming.
If you're going to question anything the kid brings forward, you are by essence questioning the parents.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
You're saying being steered into this because he didn't just wake up with this shit on his own.
That is some really heavy accusations there.
It's not a whole lot different than Greta.
It's really happening. It's not an accusation. It's happening. I mean, yeah.
How much was his lip? How much was his lip loaded with what to say and how to do interviews and all that?
I guess I kind of missed this one.
By his parents before he went out and did that.
I'd say no. So his name's Daniel. I should stop calling him the kid. His name's Daniel, and he's
Daniel Bennett or Benoit.
No. That's a different. It's a different.
Oh, Dan, that's a different Danny. I'm sorry.
But his name's Danny or Daniel.
I was just isn't he co-hosting a show with Brian?
Sometimes, yes. And so
Okay.
he's a talented kid. He speaks well. He's very talented, I would say. So he has a natural like inclination towards, being podcasting. He was obviously influenced, dude. Like he listened to Chronicles or listened to Brian, and he found himself in this like crazy position where now all of a sudden he gets to live out. It's like you and I getting to hang out with fucking AC/DC or Led Zeppelin or something like all of a sudden you're fucking hanging out with your heroes, and he's actually good at it. He can actually play drums. You can actually get him up on stage. And that's what I saw with this whole thing. But it all came from an Easter egg. That's it. And so he is talented. He's not a bad kid. He's a smart kid.
Another reason why I avoid a lot
problem-
of these researchers.
The problem is you take a kid who has a natural interest, he's expressing his natural interest, and you start putting him within the ranks of serious people in the subject who are throwing narratives, trying to steer mindsets, and you've got him intertwined with that now.
Torn apart.
It gets a little, Are we allowing him to be 14 years old and naturally inquisitive anymore? Or are we indoctrinating him to to create a narrative,
Yeah.
That's wild stuff, man. Wow.
It's insane.
I feel bad for Renee, man. Like for Renee, that's like she has to experience that, and all because she didn't want to be a part of some shenanigans.
We'll probably get a cease and desist now from the UK. You guys don't talk about him anymore.
It was from Renee, though, right? So it'd be here.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying.
Oh, you're saying from the
fact that we're talking about the minor,
I mean, it's just lawyer.
I gotta catch up on my. I gotta catch up on my Bigfooting. Then I guess if this is the biggest news out of the community.
Yeah, it's a new one on me. I had no.
Okay. I'm shocked that it wasn't talked about more. I only saw one or two posts that were relevant.
I saw a post on Deborah Hatswell's thing. I was scrolling on YouTube and came across her post that she just did today, I think, addressing.
There's
and I'm like, what the hell's going on?
There's a lot of people intertwined in this, and some of them got a lot of followers and are well respected in this community. That I'm not saying I subscribe to everything Brian King Sharp says, but I do respect the guy. I think he's got an interesting mindset. I think he's got a lot of experience talking to different people about experiences. I don't know that when it comes to Todd Standing, me and him stand on the same line, but I would have handled that whole visit out there with Todd differently than he did. I would have been much more pressing and more direct. But I love what Brian does, and I love how he's marketed and created what he does. He's got a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch branded channel, and then he's got a paranormal one that he keeps separate from each other, right? They both got different those two channels have different directions to follow. Now, the fact that he brings Daniel in for a show every other week or whatever, I don't know that I'd do that, but I'm not.
Well, especially now.
I don't disrespect Brian for doing what he does, but it might keep me from getting on and doing a show and blowing all this into a shitstorm circus.
Well, just
because I got people that I look at that's involved with this that I don't care to run over 5 times with the bus,
Yeah. I mean, this was all beforehand, and it was all interesting enough. Like him co-hosting panel discussions with people, and like one of them was RPG, right? TV guy, whatever. And I'm sitting there going, I want to be on this panel, like the questions you're asking, like I want it was all cute. Like it again, like the kid, Daniel, he's a smart, articulate, young dude, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, he comes into this as natural as all of us do right now, even more natural. And so that was all good to see. I just, of course,
Yeah, I
this
think the only
landmine.
thing I think the only thing I saw was him putting out a video saying that someone had been released from a documentary, but I didn't really connect any dots. I don't think I found the dots to connect.
I think
So
anytime
wow.
you put a minor into a subject that comes in carrying an opinion, and here's what I have to show off to everybody, you better have him and be prepared as his parents for him to get it from both directions. Okay. And the only other minor that I could compare this to would maybe be Greta Thunberg coming into the climate change argument. Okay. She came in so young that her lips were obviously loaded by her parents on this subject, right?
Well, the whole thing was set up. Greta,
She was
that whole thing was set
rehearsed
up.
and it was set up.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's what I'm saying. She came
thing.
out in the middle of a subject that has two sides that vehemently differ from each other. And they war every day about this. And if you're not okay with her being in the middle of it, don't put her on camera to begin with. Some of that does apply here. Okay.
Oh yeah, it was a
kid and his
landmine from the
family,
beginning.
if you aren't okay with skeptics and support and Bigfoot supporters warring over this with him being on the front line of it, don't allow him to get out there in this subject right now. Don't do it, because it's just naturally going to happen. There's going to be people that say, bullshit, that can't be in the UK. This kid's lying. And if you're not okay with somebody calling your kid a liar, because that's the vernacular they're going to use. Okay, I'm sorry.
His parents are dangerous, dude. I'm reading a post that Deborah did, but it's from his parents, from Daniel's parents, and man, those are some dangerous people. They're like making things sound like law enforcement is involved now. They're really lighting it up. The parents are really lighting it up about Renee's not named, but I'm assuming this is what it's about. But the parents are like, fucking A, man. Jesus.
Which would explain why Renee would go to like immediate.
But if you're not okay with somebody coming out being extremely skeptical, saying it's not that I don't like the kid, it's not that I don't like that he's getting into the subject and has an interest, but when you start bringing pictures of footprints and shit like that, if you're not okay with people analyzing them and giving them hard opinions, don't put the pictures out. Don't let your kid do that. They allowed him to get in this. You can't be held against Renee for anything she said about it.
True, but that is the reason why I challenged Renee and Meldrum both at the same exact time in the same fucking paragraph. I said, I basically said in the nicest way I could, why would you entertain this? Basically me pleading to the both of them saying, why are you participating? Why are you entertaining this idea of an undiscovered primate in the UK? It's obviously absurd. And again, I got a long political answer from Renee, which now I'm sure she wouldn't give because she probably regrets having anything to do with it. And Meldrum, I don't know, no word from him, but I was right. Right.
But what did you expect Renee to say to you? What did you expect her to say to you? I'm just curious.
My expectations were zero because I don't know her. So I didn't know what to expect from her. I'll say that her political answer took me by surprise. I was like, oh, wow, that was really well crafted and very political.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to justify her in any means.
I mean, to be honest with you, Jeff, I didn't expect an answer at all because I'm reaching out to Renee
Whoa.
and Meldrum.
So
You
she
know?
gave you a very vanilla, tried to, cover the middle
Absolutely.
of the road, which
We don't know what
the
Bigfoot
reason why
is. Blah,
the
blah,
reason
blah.
why I
Yeah.
asked what did you expect from her is I don't see any value from her point of view of giving you other than that. I don't.
didn't expect a woo answer, which is what I fucking got. I didn't expect that at all. And basically got a woo answer because of the nature of the whole thing of Bigfoot can't be in the UK. And she basically did a political spin, flipping it on its head of a question mark of, well, they might just be woo and they might just be there. Basically, is the answer she gave me. And no, I did not expect
I would frame it on the only way, and I have done this over and over. The only way it can be in Long Island, the only way it could be in the UK is if there is a supernatural explanation to its existence. A flesh and blood Bigfoot cannot exist in Long Island and it cannot exist in the UK.
Absolutely not.
Fact, point blank, 5 exclamation points. Can't happen.
Thus, the fucking thumbnail of my show, Bigfoot is from Planet Airtron. And so now we've come full circle.
Yeah, as I say, maybe that's
Bigfoot's from Planet Airtron.
Maybe the landing strip just lit up in front of you and presented itself. Who knows?
Right. Exactly.
I got to dig into this this whole thing here.
Hey, go. Yeah, no, actually, I'm on the dad's Facebook page, and it's all public. It's like, damn, if you want to get some information, go there. It's Craig Lee.
I'll get caught up here.
Damn, I had no idea. Like, this is some serious stuff here. Like, very, very serious. Like,
I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong.
This is pretty fucking.
Well,
no, this is pretty.
Maybe now is the time to ask Renee to be a guest on the show and say, I'm going to give you a chance to tell your side and everything unedited.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
No. She should not say anything. She should just drop it because the parents will just continually bring her up and do whatever because the kid's parents, Daniel's parents, man, look like a real piece of work. Like
when it comes to reputation and what she's built in her life on the way she makes a living, nothing good would come from the negativity that would pour out from this. I can see where for her, she'd rather disappear behind a curtain right now than have a conversation about it. I get that.
Well, that's quite an allegation to be thrown against you. That's pretty fucking serious. And that's pretty fucked up just because they didn't believe your evidence. Fuck that, man. These fucking people, like, seriously, these people are fucking...
gave you some right to have everybody lay down for you,
Like, this is, man,
because he's
more people should talk about this.
Because he's a teenager, automatically everybody should just step back and say he's not a target. Anything he claims, any pictures, for him to say this is what I believe, I would say nobody should attack him for his beliefs or his opinion. But when you start bringing pictures, you enter a different arena of warfare right there.
It's not his fault, though. He was Easter egged, like I said. 100%. The kid was Easter egged. Okay.
It sounds like there's going to be some major fallout from this. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I think people are picking sides. That's kind of wild, man. I didn't realize it was to this.
Damn, dude, it's bad.
Wow.
Might have to delete this show afterwards just so none of us become targets for talking.
Oh, we're giving our opinions. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
they could target me all they want, dude. I'll just laugh at them.
Put the disclaimer out there that I don't believe any of us have pointed any finger of blame at anybody. We're just sharing opinions on this whole matter.
100%, yeah.
100%. I'm not here to say one person's right and one person's wrong. That is not what's happening. I don't think any of us are.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fallout.
Sharing opinions on how they're approaching it is different.
Wow.
It's going to be an interesting fallout, that's for sure. Damn, because this is all still fresh.
Who ends up being invited to what cons now, and who's going to have
somebody needs to do a whole behind the scenes documentary on this, because I would buy that and watch it before pretty much
Jeff,
any
honestly-
other documentary that's come out.
Jeff, to be
you
honest with
already,
you,
you already got
when I did the,
already got a movement. Look at that. You got a movement. Help
Yes.
save Daniel from the abuse in the Bigfoot community.
well, Jeff, I was
He's
saying
a
when I did
15-year-old autistic boy.
Oh man.
Sorry.
When I did
Yeah.
the Vault Keeper video, I honestly thought about doing a documentary about just the other characters that were involved, and I didn't end up doing it. But I need
His
I might need to
claims
revisit
were
that.
so outlandish and so disgusting when it
Yeah,
comes to
yeah,
the
for sure,
stolen
for sure.
valor. He crossed lines that weren't just unethical; they were unforgivable, dude.
It would be interesting to do a
That is a
documentary about
documentary
that.
that you could slaughter him and crucify him in
Yeah.
that documentary, and nobody would have ground to stand on and say you were wrong for doing that. Nobody.
Yeah, the problem is you get hit by everybody about copyright and all this stuff. Even though it's fair use, they don't want it out there, so they're going to hit you with it. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Over 12 months now. That boy has done more for the
Wow.
community.
Fuck this shit, dude. Fuck this. Fuck that. Fuck this, dude.
That,
Seriously. No, this is fucking.
Yep.
Fuck.
What's up, Brent? Say it.
No, it's just the
Yeah,
whole thing's a joke, man. Like, and
I think it's bad.
fucking,
I think it's bad.
dude, it's fucking, dude, it's
I gotta,
beyond that. They're like propping him up as like the world's youngest cryptozoologist. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, his dad posted something, tagged his son saying about how famous he is and, all that shit. Really laying it down. It's like, damn, dude.
Run away. kid.
Damn.
Run away as fast as you can.
Well, they're just playing victim just because they don't believe his evidence. Like, how often does this happen? I'm like, I get attacked when I like
Maybe
go
ask
do
Brian
that, but
about it.
never like that.
Maybe ask
I don't
Brian
think he
about
gives
it. Say, I'm not
he's not
asking you to
gonna
pick
talk
a side. I'm just asking you what's your opinion on all of this. What
I honestly, I'm surprised that those people still support Daniel, like what he's doing. Like they actually went to his conference after pulling that shit, or I'm sorry, his parents pulling that shit.
Oh, that's what I'm
Like,
saying.
how
Brian
the fuck can you do that?
Flew over to England
Brent,
just for
Brent, I
this.
did see the pictures of the conference, and let me just say you didn't miss much. I don't think anybody missed much. It didn't look like
Yeah,
like 30 people, maybe. It didn't look. If you want to call that a conference, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It seems like it's really enabling behavior to silence people trying to bring up truth and facts about what that person's presenting. I don't know, man. This shit like bugs me when people do this shit. It really does. I got triggered. Now I'm going to look into this. And I'm definitely going to say something about this. I'm going to put my 2 cents in. Just because.
Yeah, you should. I mean, it's
Let's fuck that, man.
I need a
It's a
video for
thing.
the dots to be connected here because I don't want to dig through everybody's Facebook stuff.
Yeah, it'd be nice, something like that.
Well, I
Also,
know
I'm gonna.
there's a couple of people that I wouldn't ask to be on your show, Brent, but I would simply say, I'd love to have a conversation with you about this. I will not mention your name. I'll sign an NDA saying you're have nothing to do with my conversation. I'm not going to say I heard from somebody. I'm just trying to educate myself on what's going on here and how did we get here? Because I think under those contexts,
That'd be
maybe
perfect.
Renee and Brian and people who would know these answers may be willing to have that conversation with you. They're obviously interested in having somebody speak intelligently on this rather than inflating more bullshit about it.
Okay, yeah, that's if they did the old Santa Claus on them, that's pretty messed up there, Kaiju. Yeah.
What's up? Missed it.
Oh no, he was saying if the parents fooled their son with Bigfoot evidence, that's sick. That's.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it sure seems like the parents are like behind a lot of this because they're the ones, even creating the controversy. It's like one of those parents for one of those Dance Mom shows, where it's just, the claws come out. Apparently, that's some messed up stuff. That's some messed up stuff. Hopefully, people talk more about it and talk against it, which they won't because nobody wants to. So, they'll just allow this to get swept underneath the rug, because that's what we all do in the Bigfoot company subject, huh?
Petey's
Don't we?
looking back at the camera at you because he heard you say the claws came out. He had to look over his shoulder back at the camera and say, "What's that?"
I didn't know it was this deep. I had just seen one video, and yeah, I didn't get it. And yeah, wow.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to Deborah and some other people. Might even reach out to the parents, actually, of Daniel, and find out what's going on, get their side.
Well, it sure sounds like they wouldn't say
Yeah,
no to
no.
being interviewed about it.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, if
they're
they're
fucking
throwing
posting
everything
all over
out
it.
publicly on Facebook, then they'll get in front of any microphone they can find.
Yeah, so that makes sense what Blake was talking about how, they've always been hands-on parents. So it makes sense that, hey, we need to find our son a hobby or get him something and, make him feel special.
Well, I mean, that's why. So, you know what's so frustrating to me? I wish I would have done a prediction video on this. I was so frustrated because when the whole thing broke, I knew it was an Easter egg. I knew, this is.
You were calling it. I remember you were calling it.
It was, yeah, it's so silly. This is an Easter egg. There is no undiscovered primate in the UK. That's absurd. So we have proof that they come from planet Hairtron. Like, it's got to be one or the other. It's not real, or they are fucking magical beings. And so Daniel busted it wide open. I don't think so. He quickly turned into a media darling, so I saw that progression happen too. And anytime I questioned it on Facebook, I got ignored, or I had posts deleted, not just my comment. The entire post would get deleted.
I don't think autistic is maybe the right word. He was had social
neurodivergent.
Yeah,
I don't know anything. I mean, there's
socially that's why they were homeschooling him. There was some social.
That's what the dad even threw out in his own thing, trying to defend his son against the big bad Bigfoot community grooming his child. He threw that out there. Oh, my autistic son. It's like, geez,
Well, I mean, that makes it even worse.
Victimizing him.
My whole point
well, that's all they are. Is they're self-victimizing or victimizing them.
Yeah, we shouldn't say or do anything to hurt the kid. He's just a kid.
100%.
No matter what, he's innocent. He's young enough to fall into that innocent category.
I have an opinion on this that involves some others that are involved in it, and I'll share with you guys. I'm not going to say it publicly, but
I only got 2% left on my phone. It's not charging for whatever reason. So if I black out, I will. I'm gone forever, guys.
Well, I'm ready to.
I got 2%.
Search party.
I'm ready to wrap it up.
If you wrap it up, I'll stick around and talk just for a minute or so, Brent.
I got to get the scoop on this. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up then, and we'll do that, and we'll come back to this, I guess, maybe.
I think we should. I think I am.
I think there's more to talk about once we figure out what the more is.
All right,
obviously.
Well, I'll do a cold ending. We'll go backstage. Hard.
Right,
I'll just do a hard ending.
Bye, everybody.
All right, so I'm going to end the stream. Thanks for watching. Oh, my God, this turned out to be a 10 times more interesting show than I thought it would be. It's glad to be back. I'm so glad to be back. This is fun. And we'll come back to this. We'll come back to all of it.